All right, good afternoon. I'd like to call the October 10th, 2019 meeting of the Plaquemines Parish Council to order at 2:25 p.m. Machine is open for roll call. The record reflect that all 9 council members are present. If you have any withdrawals or deferrals, can you please queue in and we'll go through those. Mr. Kognovich,
982 defer.
Mr. Russo,
9A6 and C. 9C.
all right, with no more, we have just 3 deferrals, 9A2, 9A6, and 9C. Those items will be deferred. Mr. Russo?
Yes, this time I'd like to move to item 10A2 if there's no objection.
Yeah, let me just clear the agenda a little bit, and we'll do that. We're going to be moving items 2A and B to the back of the agenda. Executive session at the request of the parish attorney.
(10A2).
Hold on. And we'll move directly after Mr. Russo's request to a status report by the parish president, and then we'll move in from there. Just want to get the agenda sorted out here. Ms. Marcotte, 10A2?
A resolu-
10A2, yeah.
A resolution to reaffirm the Plaquemines Parish government's no-toll position on the Bell Chase Tunnel and Bridge Replacement Project as expressed in Resolution Number 19-206 and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Russo?
Yeah, I seek that suspension for consideration today.
Mr. Russo seeks a suspension. Has a second? Second, Mr. Kognovich. This is on the suspension. Eight yeas, 1 abstention. Ms. Marcotte?
A resolution to reaffirm the Plaquemines Parish government's no-toll position on the Bell Chase Tunnel and Bridge Replacement Project as expressed in Resolution Number 19-206 and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Russo?
Yes, at this time I'd like to ask the secretary to read the entire resolution because there are some members that may want to discuss the language. The purpose of this resolution is to reaffirm the position that we took in Resolution 19-206 to say that we are opposed to tolls on the Bell Chase Tunnel Bridge Replacement Project. Over the period of time since we adopted this, there seems to be some interpretation of the previous resolution that said that that resolution would allow tolls. And I didn't read it that way, didn't intend it that way, but I want to make it clear what the resolution states today. Therefore, I ask the secretary to read the full resolution into the record.
Ms. Marcotte?
A resolution to reaffirm the Plaquemines Parish government's no-toll position on the Bell Chase Tunnel and Bridge Replacement Project as expressed in Resolution Number 206 and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Whereas Resolution Number 19-206 was unanimously adopted by the Plaquemines Parish Council on August 8, 2019, and whereas upon its adoption, a certified copy of Resolution Number 19-206 was sent to the Senate and House Committees on Transportation, Highways, and Public Works in an effort to stress our government's position on the proposed tolls. And whereas the Plaquemines Parish government appreciates the ongoing efforts of the Louisiana State Department of Transportation and Development to address the transportation needs of Plaquemines Parish. And whereas the Peters Road project continues to be a priority for the Plaquemines economic development and port development. However, in addition to this project, the Bell Chase Tunnel and Bridge Replacement Project is also greatly needed due to LA Highway 23 being the main artery for Plaquemines Parish. And whereas for many years the people of Plaquemines have consistently expressed their opposition to tolls being collected to fund the Bell Chase Tunnel and Bridge Replacement Project shortfall. And whereas the Plaquemines Parish government, as well as parish residents and business owners, again urged the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development to move forward with identifying the remainder of the funding needed to accomplish these projects without tolls being imposed. Now therefore be it resolved by the Plaquemines Parish Council that it reaffirms the Plaquemines Parish government's no-toll position on the Bell Chase Tunnel and Bridge Replacement Project.
Uh,
Mr. Russo?
Yes, so I offer this resolution with the spirit of understanding where we stand today. I want to thank all of those in the audience that went to Baton Rouge, testified before the committee. It's my understanding that we were waiting on a 30-day decision from DOTD Secretary Sean Wilson to decide whether or not the P3 infra grant project could be used without tolls. I've heard that the project can be used without tolls. I've never heard anything official from anyone. I was waiting on that discussion to happen, and so far it has not happened. We have not had another transportation meeting scheduled, but in the meantime, I've heard that there are different proposals floating around there, and all of this is basically hearsay. I read a little Facebook, I read a little information in the paper. So today's purpose of this resolution is to confirm that we are opposed to a toll. And that's the intention of this resolution, and I'll be glad to yield at this time for public comment.
I'd first like to start off, Mr. Russo, if you would. I'll go ahead. I was going to wait for you guys to present, but I'll go ahead, because Mr. Russo asked a couple questions. And I think he was referring to me about the misinterpretation or different interpretation. I can tell you right now, of course, I'm against tolls. You know, I don't think anybody wants a toll. However, there's a lot more than just saying I'm for a toll or against a toll, and this is a much more complex issue. I think I've been very transparent and upfront with all of you on my position, and I've understood what was required since it was presented to us in 2017. Basically, in 2017, an application was submitted to the United States Department of Transportation, in which multiple elected officials, to include our state representative, our parish president at the time, as well as a lieutenant governor, all wrote letters, and I have copies of them here, all of them, supporting the infra grant application. And I'll just read a couple excerpts from the infra grant application. And this is October 31st, 2017, to the Honorable Elaine Chao, who's the Secretary of Transportation for the United States government. In the second paragraph, it says, and this is the body of the letters that were written. It's basically just copied and pasted from each representative, the three officials that sent it. And I have to caveat it to the council to not send one of these letters. As it relates to leveraging federal funds, the application does so with the strategic use of a public-private partnership, P3, whereby the infra grant funding will serve as up to only 40% of the total project cost. The remaining funds needed for the project will be new revenue for transportation generated by tolling, along with Metropolitan Planning Organization contributions and other existing funds. Now, that is about as clear as it gets, that when the application was submitted by Secretary Sean Wilson of the Louisiana Department of Transportation to Secretary Chao of the U.S. Department of Transportation, that everybody knew, was very clear, that those elected officials, including myself, that tolling in a P3 was an absolute component of the infra grant to receive the $45 million. Now, I have to make another caveat that Mr. Leopold, our state representative, had added a footnote to his letter, the only one who added a footnote. And in that it says, in reference to paragraph 2, the one I just read, funding received through tolling is unknown at this time and can be best determined after the awarding of the infra grant, which I'm supporting via this letter. It goes on to say, the process, as it was explained, allows for the project to be rejected if the tolling portion exceeds what is acceptable to my constituency. Now, my interpretation of that is that everybody understood that tolling was a component, and that during that entire process, that if the tolls were to exceed what was acceptable, at least by him, and I think by me, that we would be opposed. So I'll go a little bit further to the next step, which when the first proposal was given, I can assure you that myself, and I would be willing to bet that every other council member on this panel here did not know what the proposal was. I think others did. We learned it at the Belchase Auditorium on that Wednesday night. As soon as we heard it, I was opposed to the proposal. I'm speaking for myself, and I've always spoke for myself as the councilman for District 2. I was definitely opposed to that proposal. Notified the Secretary of Transportation verbally that I was opposed, met with council members and the administration. I personally drafted a resolution which attached a letter to the governor and to the Secretary of Transportation, Mr. Sean Wilson, officially stating that we were opposed to that proposal. Not that I was opposed to tolls, but that particular proposal. That was voted on, and it was an 8-0 vote with one abstention at that council meeting. The negotiations continued, in which a second proposal was then generated. I also disagree with that proposal, as did, I believe, all of my colleagues. I don't want to speak for them, but that's my belief. After that, went up to meet the Secretary of Transportation with the port to come up with an alternative to the proposal, in which they rejected. And then I told the Secretary of Transportation that I was opposed to that proposal and could not support that proposal. Mr. Russo, subsequent to a meeting that I was invited to with the No Tolls Group, was the first meeting I was invited to, the only one I was invited to, and the only one I went to, expressed my position, listened to the facts that the Scorsonis presented, and they were facts. And therefore, I was opposed to the proposal. However, not the toll, because I understood, like everybody else in 2017, that tolls were a component. Voted on Mr. Russo's resolution because my interpretation is that, number one, we wanted to prioritize Peters Road, which I'm 100% for. We didn't want tolls, which I'm 100% for, if there's an alternative to the infra grant. That was the key. The way I read it is that we've exhausted all options and could not come up with the funding, that the tolls option would still be on the table. Now, I apologize if I misinterpreted, but that's the way I read it. I think law and legislation is up for interpretation by the individual. Joint Transportation held a meeting in which you all went to. Representative Paige Cortez, the chairman of the Joint Transportation Committee, decided to give the secretary 30 days. During that period, there was a call that was organized this was on September 25th, between the Louisiana Department of Transportation, in which Secretary Wilson was on, the U.S. Department of Transportation, in which their lead finance officer and multiple other officials were on from that office, Senator Cassidy's office, and then individually, Senator Troy Carter, Senator Sharon Hewitt, Representative Paige Cortez, Representative Chris Leopold, Representative Pat Connick, and myself were all on a call. As I look around, I don't see anybody else that was on that call here. So I wish there was, to corroborate what I'm about to read, because I took very diligent notes, and I actually have some quotes from that. So to answer Mr. Russo's question, and this isn't hearsay, this is what I heard with my own 2 ears and wrote down as I was out of town and had a little bit of time to sit down and actually pay close attention. The question was asked about the critical pieces and the criteria. There are 2 critical pieces of criteria for the INFRA grant. Number 1, as it was in the letter, a public-private partnership. The second was innovative financing. Basically, that means a revenue stream that did not previously exist. Now all of these words are coming directly from the U.S. Department of Transportation's finance office, the person who actually awards the grant. Those are two criteria. So he talked about the application. He said the instructions in the rules for the grant round included consideration for funding through a public-private partnership and innovative financing through a revenue stream that did not previously exist, created expressly for funding this project. He went on to say that the notion of innovating funding means the following: a toll, an excise tax, a sales tax, a usage tax, or a regional tax. He then said vehemently, rededication of existing funding does not fit the bill. So my key takeaways, he also said that time is moving on. He suggested that the state come up with a plan that includes innovative financing. Then they will discuss it around the department and then provide feedback. Now, I'd like to say something. I haven't had any conversations with anyone I listed on that conference call subsequent to that conference call on the 25th, and now we sit here on October 10th. So I have no idea if anybody up there is discussing other innovative ways. I think that's really a part of the state's job to do. If there is no innovative financing, the project will be killed and money would be returned. Direct quote. The only options would be to substitute a toll for a taxing district. So there's your answer. That was a direct answer from them. It's either a toll or a tax. Now, we had some discussion about what portion of the project needed to be either tolled or taxed. And the answer, and I think Mr. Leopold brought it up in one of his public speaking engagements, $34 million. So that was in the grant application, from my understanding, that $34 million of the total project costs needed to be from an innovative funding source that was new and not existing currently. And their examples were a toll or a tax of some sort. They said some money could be reallocated money from the state DOT budget, but that would not be in the spirit of the grant if there were not at least $34 million in innovative financing. So that was the end of the phone call. I had a subsequent conversation with Secretary Wilson on my own as a council member, as I think I rightfully have that right to do. And he sent an email to everybody that was on this phone call saying that plenary came back with a proposal of 25 cents. 25 cents, and that the state would pick up the CPI. They had some other issues, and still I wasn't satisfied with that. I'm not sitting here hanging, I'm negotiating on behalf of the parish. No, I'm negotiating on behalf of myself and having discussions to keep it alive and to keep it open. And I understand you guys' position. It may be for zero tolls, absolute none. And I think a couple people even expressed that, and I respect it. But I just want to point out in 2017 that everybody knew who wrote those letters that a toll or innovative funding source was necessary. Now, my position is simple, and I gave a briefing, and I want to thank Michelle Herbert, who's the chairwoman for PABI, and Mr. Bobby Thomas, the executive director, for allowing me to brief their board and past chair members about what I just told you guys today. And that's basically the conversation we had. And my issue is this, is that I think if we allowed a $45 million to walk away, even if the project is still $125 million, if you reduce a bunch of different things from it, as you guys all pointed out, that we have to go back before another procurement process, which is going to cost 2 years. And the secretary has told me that then the money that we're using from the tunnel will be removed, which is an extra $20 million. The maintenance and operation cost for the next 2 years will be removed, which is X amount of money. So now we're back to having a gap of possibly $130-something million, as opposed to having a current gap now of around 90 million, or give and take some, well, I think 75 million, give or take some change. So if we give the $45 million back, I think we really risk a great opportunity. I think we need to just stay at the table. I'm not saying that we should take this proposal. I don't like it. I don't like it for the business community. I think there is some negotiating and still needs to be done. I think plenary, if the secretary decides to extend their contract, will be willing to do it. I would hope they would be, based on our discussions, and extend that length of when that contract ends, so we can figure something out that is acceptable for everybody. Because I can tell you, it cost me more than 25 cents in time and money in gasoline to sit on the bridge for 30 minutes when it's up, and I'm running late for something, or I miss, an event or whatever it is. I'm sure I'm idling for a lot more. I'm sure the business community, when you have cargo truck sits there, would you rather the cargo get in there 30 minutes earlier and not spending however much money in gas idling? That's for another discussion. But I just wanted to let you guys know where I was at, and I think I've been, in line with that. I'm going to go ahead and stop here. I really have no more to say, and I'll open it up to Dr. Gui.
I appreciate that explanation, Bo. I also appreciate all the work that the No Tolls organization has done. It really has been an eye-opener as to giving us viewpoints that maybe we wouldn't think of on our own, and I appreciate that. I also appreciate what Mr. Roussel has done to get the voice of the council. And in regards to that, we did pass Resolution 19206 back in August 8th of 2019. And I think that was a well-written, well-stated resolution, and I would like I'd like Mr. Roussel's resolution he has on the table today to be consistent with that. I think it's important that we keep consistency as much as it is to keep our options open and to continue to communicate. There's no question the proposals, they don't cut it. The proposals we've been getting are ridiculous. They're to laugh at. But that doesn't mean we should close the door and not continue to discuss. So in that vein, what I'm offering is that an amendment be placed on line 34. And that language we would eliminate the period and say, as per Resolution 19206. The language is very consistent between the one that was passed and the one that's being proposed today, except that it does take a position in the last be it resolved that we are reaffirming the previous position of a no toll, but it doesn't reference, and I think it should reference, that resolution that was passed on August 8th. So again, on line 34, eliminate the period and add the language as per Resolution 19-206. I will offer that as an amendment. Ask for a second.
Offer by Mr. Gui, seconded by Ms. Newberry. Any questions or comments on that? Mr. Roussel?
Yes. Let me be clear about the discussion that was just had. None of us were privy to any of that discussion. That was a conference call or whatever it was, but none of us were privy to that. However, I was privy to the very first meeting when Sean Wilson came into the council chamber back here and made a presentation. And some of you were there. And it was very clear to me from that day that I made myself clear that I am opposed to a toll on this project. Now, some people say, interpretation is everything. that conversation could be interpreted many ways. And it boils down to, it's like being pregnant. You either are or you aren't. There's no in between. You're for a toll or you're not for a toll. You are not going to negotiate the deal. DOTD is going to negotiate the deal. Now, what is acceptable? Do we have something that is acceptable as a toll? My position in the day one, in the very first meeting was no. And it's not something that I want to sit and say, I told you so, but here we are. Those people in the room should have known that this day would come where the public would have to pay that toll and would not be happy with it. And it's here today. Now, having said that, I would prefer to see us focus on Peters Road. Later in the meeting, I will have legislation introduced to donate 3 pieces of parish property to keep that project moving along. That's been my priority for many years. If we had not been in the toll lane because we accepted the P3 project, we possibly could have been in the BP lane where the $800 million was distributed. And we would have been here not talking about a P3 and a toll. So I wanted to be clear that I am consistent in my position of no toll, and I would have preferred to see us being in that BP lane, getting money like the rest of the state got out of the $800 million that was provided for bridges, cranes at the City of New Orleans, and so forth. So I want you to know that I did know. Mr. Black is right. I knew there was a toll component to this and opposed it from day one. So it was not something that was accepted universally. And here we are today, and I look forward to your comments.
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Roussel. He has been opposed to it, so I was in that meeting, and I get it. It's a different position than mine, but, a lot of times people disagree up here. I agree with him about the prioritization. However, the state officials, and I just named 2 of them with the parish president who submitted these letters with the infra grant, submitted the application, and we won. And I think most of us in the former council were up there accepting the grant and the check underneath the Belle Chase Bridge next to the tunnel that day, with Senators Cassidy and Senator Kennedy. And I also agree with HB 578. I asked the state representative and the port's lobbyists, why didn't we know anything about 578 at the time? And I still don't really know the answers to those questions. So I am a little burnt up about 578. There's a lot of issues. However, I know that the position we're in, and I want to ask Mr. Gouy one real quick because I want to make sure your change. So is your change then reflective of the interpretation that we would like to see Peters Road prioritized and no tolls for the project unless that it's required and then that is an option? Is that what you're saying?
Well, to be consistent with the previous, and
Well, I don't know your interpretation of it. So you say, I understand your consistency with the previous, but is your interpretation the same as mine or?
the previous one prioritizes Peters Road project. It admits that the tunnel replacement is necessary. It was never in the plans to toll either project. However, in May of 2019, the toll came, forward. And then it talks about how the business owners and residents would be at a disadvantage to carry the burden of proposed tolls. And
But do you think Resolution 1906 leaves the option open if all of that is exhausted, that a toll is a
I think it
possibility?
doesn't close the door. I think it doesn't close the door. What it says is the proposals you've given us, they don't cut it. That's my interpretation.
And that's
They
mine.
don't cut it.
And that's mine as well.
But it's not shutting the door. It's saying, hey, we're not in favor of this. And if we pass this, I think it changes the complexion. Without that language, it changes the complexion. We were all happy with 19206, and I'm still happy with it. And I think we need to say that we're still happy with it.
So am I, but you and I have a different interpretation, I think, than Mr. Russo. And, I don't know if Mr. Russo wants to make an amendment to make clarification on this new resolution or not, but Mr. Russo, you have the floor.
Yes, I think it was very clear, the first resolution said, proceed with the projects with alternate funding and no tolls. I never did interpret that resolution to say the door was open. Now, today, I'm not interpreting even your amendment to say that the door is still open. Your amendment says, as per Resolution 19206, which is the first resolution that we passed, passing that resolution was against the toll. And I interpret it that way. So, again, we can put anything we want on here if you want to interpret it that way. You can interpret it any way you want, but my resolution and the intent of the legislation has always been to say just what it says. Be it resolved by the Plaquemines Parish Council that it reaffirms the Plaquemines Parish government's no-toll position on the Bell Chase Tunnel and Bridge Replacement Project. If you want to add as per Resolution 19-206 so I can get this passed again, I don't really have a problem with that. But it says no tolls. And the interpretation of the legislation is just that. So, it goes back to, again, either for a toll or you're not for a toll. That's what we need to decide. I'm against the toll. My legislation is against the toll. And if you don't want to, quote, close the door on a toll, then you vote against the legislation. It's that simple. You can't ride the horse in the middle of the track and be on both sides. You got to be on one side or the other.
Yeah, I mean, would
The language says move forward in identifying remainder of the funds needed to accomplish without tolls being imposed. What we're saying is give us something else. And you mentioned other forms of funding.
Right.
So we don't have that. What we're saying is please bring us something. We're not in favor of tolls. Bring us something. Give us an opportunity to say what we want, to say yes or no to what you bring us. And, we're going to sit and argue points of order or interpretations. That's what it says. We don't like what you gave us. Go try to find something else and bring it back. And we'll get a chance whether it's worth, our vote is worth anything to the state or not. That's yet to be determined. But that's all that the resolution says.
unless you want to add on line 34 to continue with your amendment as per Resolution 19-06, comma, if the proposal still requires, just put the language clear in there, that no toll or tax for this project will be accepted.
It says no toll. It reaffirms that we have a no toll position on the tunnel and bridge. So let's do the amendment and let's get this over with, because I know people have other things to do.
I'd like to hear from the public.
Okay, that's good. Let's do that.
Come on. Yeah.
Okay.
Just to let you guys know, per Rules 18, it's 5 minutes per person.
Okay. My name's Donald Landry,
Hold on.
lifelong resident.
Let's get this amendment out the way. If you could address that, or if I tell you what I'll do, let me pass on the amendment. Let's hear what everyone's got to say, and we can come back and vote on it.
All right, you want to withdraw
All
your
right.
second? All right, second's withdrawn.
All right, let's do that. Go ahead.
All right, the original is on the table. Mr. Donald?
Okay, I want to thank y'all for having this on your agenda today and having the opportunity to speak to the public-private partnership for the bridge. I fully understand the economics, the investment, budgeting, and et cetera. This, in any private-public partnership, is not a method of funding the Bell Chase Bridge, and this is why. Plenary in the state thinks that Plaquemines government and its citizens must be a bunch of idiots. They keep lowering our toll, thinking that there'll be a point at which we will say, okay, put tolls on the bridge because somebody else is going to pay for it. Well, we depend here on the parish of commerce in and out of the parish, and our only main road for commerce is the Bell Chase Bridge. That's who will pay for that bridge, is the commerce. I'm sorry, I tried to memorize this, but the Plaquemines residents are if the Plaquemines residents are totally exempt, we are still against this proposal. And let me state why. It is because this would financially devastate our parish. As you know, Plaquemines is currently financially struggling. We hear it every meeting. We have spoken to some local businesses that will be forced to move out of the parish. Consequently, less revenue for the parish to operate. This parish depends on the commerce. You can raise property tax, but eventually you're going to raise property tax so high you're going to have residents leaving besides businesses. This third proposal is unacceptable because it removes $665 million out of our economy. They want groundbreaking. The state DOTD and the governor wanted the P3 project to be approved the next day on that May 29th meeting. They had plenary, had all kind of executives fly in. They had a joint transportation committee meeting the next morning, and they hoped to have contracts signed that day. If it wouldn't be for the backfeed that Chris Leopold and the citizens of this community gave, that would be a done deal already. The state had 3 companies bid on the project. 2 companies had a question about the bidding. Secretary Wilson refused to answer that because it would have extended their bid process. And this is all politically tied. They hoped the ground breaks this past September, photo ops at the bridge, commercials on TV showing that this P3 project was going forward and Plaquemines would have a new bridge. Well, it's going to economically devastate us, people. We cannot afford P3. I know Mr. Black has mentioned that this has to be a P3, is what you said?
Yes.
Okay. Well, if there is no other option, look at the finances. Plenary has dropped from their 29th proposal, $200 million. And if they had that much fluff on the 29th, I mean, what's the story here? $200 million. So I would say go for alternate financing because the state should remove the bridge and the Marine Fund should remove the tunnel for a deeper draft. The state has paid $0 to the construction of the tunnel or the bridge. When a tunnel was built, federal government paid for 60%, the parish paid for 40%. When the Belle Chase Bridge was built, Plaquemines paid the entire amount. The state should remove $37 million out of this proposal for the demolition of the tunnel and the bridge. The state should incur that cost, not Plaquemines. In closing, I'm going to give you an example of why we have to be united. Okay. Why we have to be united as a community and as a council and a parish government. Colonel Lee, the Corps of Engineers head man for the southern region, when we had the flood wall, the floodgate issue, he stood in front of the Belle Chase High School auditorium and said, and I quote, "Because the local government could not come to a consensus, we are going to build a floodgate." So consequently, we have a hard closure on an evacuation route. We can fight the state, we can fight the federal government if we're united. The state will not force an unreasonable proposal down our throats if we are united. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Landry.
Hi, okay, I'm Heidi Nungesser Landry. I spoke to y'all last time, so I just have a few things I want to make clear. Bo Black's absolutely correct. Billy Nungesser, Pat Connick, they all were on board for having this P3 project come here, and they did know that it attached to toll. I'm totally against tolls day one. You're never going to convince me to be for a toll when we have bridges going up all over Louisiana. We have a surplus. We have BP money that we should have received. So I think all those people, including Chris Leopold at the DOT meeting, agreed that he was against the toll. Billy Nungesser wrote a letter saying he was against the toll, and so did Pat Connick. So they all, when they realized how bad this deal was, realized we got to get on the right track. So although that is correct what he said, they are not for the deal now. So I will say also that for your information,
Let me just let you know that I'm the only one out of, I'm the one out of all of them who's not running for re-election.
okay, also, well,
Make that clear.
okay, back on the first meeting that Mr. Russo talked about at the council, the first meeting we had, if you remember, I stood up at that meeting and said, guys, none of y'all going to help us? Y'all can't help us? Heidi, it's out of my hand. Every one of you but Benny Russo, Chris Leopold, Bo Black, I don't remember, some of y'all weren't elected at the time, Kurt Lepine, everybody said, nothing we can do, nothing we can do. And I said, oh, that's something you can do. If anybody saw the Crescent City Connection, people can do a lot. You represent us. You have a bigger voice than we have. Well, not really lately, but you do. And we need to fight to be together on this. Another thing, I will say that just so you know, just now I just found out this new news. DOT picked up the no toll signs on a private property on Belle Chase Highway, 2 different houses, a house and a clinic. And they did it on Monday. When they were called, they said, oh, we don't have anybody out there on Monday. Well, we got pictures of it. Girl had a camera. Pictures were sent to them. They called her back and said, you'll have your signs back tomorrow. This is what we're fighting, the state. And if you think, oh, the state's going to treat us right, wake up. It is not going to happen. We have to fight for us. For anybody at this point to be for a toll, I just can't understand that. Unless you're going to tell me 10 cents and that's all I'm going to pay and it's going to end. Even if it's not going to, it's never going to end. I mean, I just don't understand. We want this bridge. We were never told about the infra grant, waited for that to come back for Mr. Leopold was supposed to inform us about the infra grant. If, Bo Black, I'm taking your word that you got the email that we can use it without a toll. I understand you're saying it's got to be an innovative idea, but let's go out that meeting and let's talk to other people and see if someone can come up with an idea before we even negotiate another toll. Let's see what we can do without the toll. It's saying we can use it without. So why are we discussing the toll? Let's open the doors and let's ask people. There's a lot of smart people in this parish. Let's get them involved and let's find a way to do it without a toll. I think that's all I had to say, but I know I could think a little more. So I hope they all get on the same page and realize how bad this deal is and call people that know what's going on and get the information that we need to fight it. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Donald Valet. I've had a business in Plaquemines for over 25 years. Most of y'all know me. I've been behind the scenes in a lot of political situations, and I've watched us make a lot of money and have a lot of hard times and a lot of discord in the council and the administration. And I want to compliment you all, particularly the most consensus group of people that we've had that represents all of us in Plaquemine Parish. And for once, you all have come together to recognize what the people have asked for. You all proposed that resolution that Benny had, and it went to the meeting in Baton Rouge. I attended and I spoke at that meeting. Several of you all, I believe, were at the meeting, and you watched what all the members of that committee said. We're not going to pose a toll on you if the people don't want it. It was unanimous in that meeting. You all expressed your opinion. You wrote your unanimous consent to it, and everybody walks away. What was concerned was losing the $45 million infra grant that Secretary Sean Wilson put together with, frankly, without any public comment. And that's where everybody in this parish revolted. We're not opposed to a new bridge. We've looked at Walker Road and Peters Road for 10 years now. It's been planned. There's been money in the pot, so to speak, for years. And now, right after that meeting, I confronted Mr. Wilson, and he said there's no more money. It's not forthcoming. We got, pardon the expression, screwed at the last minute with the $700 million that the governor escaped the legislature with that went to every pet project where there was something going on, except Plaquemine Parish. There was a surplus then, only because we've been overtaxed. There's a surplus now, but we weren't considered for any of that because he ran with the feds on getting $45 million for Sean Wilson, and he has to save face. What we came away with from that meeting in Baton Rouge was find a way, and this is Paige Cortez, who's chairman of that committee, find a way that those funds can be utilized. Because mostly all the members that were there said, if you don't want it, we'll take it. And have some pet project. And everybody was looking for a way to use that money and not lose it. And I agree, nobody wants to lose money. I serve on a lot of boards with the state and have quite some time. And I get excuses from my staffs. We've got to do these deals, otherwise we're going to lose the federal money. Well, sometimes it's good to walk away when a deal stinks. You're not going to enter into a transaction if it's not good for you. And this was not good for the parish. You all stepped up to the plate. You told them you don't want it, and I don't know why we're still talking about it, and you're negotiating with them over and over again, giving all these people hope. The P3 is a bad deal. I've had many discussions with P3s on a lot of deals. We've done a lot of bond tax thing all over the country with the boards that I'm on. A P3 deal should be worked on something that is new and does not impair to anyone else in the community. Frankly, I've talked to Franklin Associates. I know some of the people that are in a P3 transaction, and I've said, go back to Peters Road. Everybody will support Peters Road. It's been in our plans, master plan for the parish, regional plan for years. Well, we can't do that. There's not enough money. There's not enough traffic that's going to pass. We can't make any money. Well, this is all about making money. That's not what you all are about. You all are here to serve the public, and we want no toll, but we do need a new bridge, and we need a master plan of where we're going. So, Chairman, I appreciate you wanting to put a deal together. My opinion, it's too late. It's history. It's not going to happen. We've all said no toll, and the people feel that way. And I can tell you the no toll people worked substantially to make certain. All you guys have talked to your constituents. Nobody wants to pay a toll, but we do have to find other means. I've suggested many times now, we put together a planning group to address all of the infrastructure needs in this parish and try to find and plan 10 to 15 years down the road how we can afford this and what we don't need to afford and where we can gain the revenue for economic development in this parish. Thank you.
Hi, Council. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Denise Buford. I'm a resident of Plaquemines Parish. I'm also a business owner. And I am the founding member of the No Tolls organization. I'm the lady who made the phone calls to the people that I knew were passionate about this and had a meeting at my house and said, we can do this. We're going to do it at my dining room table, and we're going to stop the state. But in order for us as a community to do it, we need our elected officials to be behind us. And so it was us who called Benny Roussel first. Actually, Bo Black. It was Bo Black first. We called you about doing a resolution. You did the first one. Benny followed up with the other one, which I think had a little more meat to it. And thanks to Trudy and also to Mark, who came to the to Baton Rouge with us along with Benny for this fight. For those of you I haven't spoken with or haven't heard much from on the issue, I take it that your vote last time meant that you were also against tolls. So thank you very much. The excerpt that you read, Bo, from the letter, and I have to say in those elected officials' defense, they were for a grant and they were for a P3 project. However, they had no idea that the state was going to include building a new bridge, tearing down and disposing of the old bridge, sealing the tunnel, insuring the new bridge that's worth $15 million, maintaining the old bridge and tunnel while construction is going on, maintaining the new bridge for 30 years, and also the cost of the toll. So whether they tell us it's a 5-cent tax toll or a 45-cent, they're moving the monies to businesses. They're moving it to non-residents and businesses with trucks that come into this parish. They're still going to be collecting anywhere from $600 to $800 million. We're only short $34 million. We should not be responsible to pay for all those other costs. If they would have come to us and said, you're only responsible for the short $34 million, different story, different ballpark. But they want us to pay for all of that, and that's why the bill is so big. The other problem that I have with this is that if we don't fight it at a state level and the state makes a contract with Plenary or any other company, this parish, you as government officials, have absolutely no say-so. None. It will never go out to the vote of the people for this toll to ever get taken off like what had to happen with the Crescent City connection. If they don't collect the money that they think they're going to collect on an annual basis, if our population goes down and they don't collect the profit they think, they're going to raise the tolls, they're going to extend it longer than 30 years. They could do what they want. And we have absolutely no say-so. I would never enter into a business decision where I was paying for something and I had no control over it. And that's what they want us to do. They want this parish to pay for something that we have absolutely no control over. The only control we have is right now to reject this proposal from DOTD. We have to reject this P3 project. Then we have 2 years, from what I understand, 2 years for the $45 million to go away. And that gives us 2 years to find alternative funding. But we cannot let DOTD enter in a contract with a private company where this parish has absolutely no say-so. So I hope that we can continue to get your support and we can continue to fight as one. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm John Banker. I live in Evangeline Trace. I'm a little nervous. Never spoke in front of a group like you guys. Appreciate the time. I'm a private citizen. I'm retired. And those guys in front of me did such a good thing. I'm trying to pick something else that I could say that's different and maybe better for our argument. We know what it'll do to the folks who live here in the parish. I can afford 25 cents. Everybody else can. But everybody external to the parish is going to take a big, big, big hit. Because whatever Plenary doesn't make on us, they're going to transfer the cost to the outside folks. Everybody who wants to come in here and work, Councilman Black put a good thing on Facebook today saying about home and some other places got some big businesses, and we hope we can do the same. We all want to do that. But do we want to also tell those folks, come please build a facility here, bring in your workers, but let them know they're going to have to pay a toll each and every day in and out. That's not an incentive to new business. Like some of the things mentioned, if you lose some business, you got to make up the shortfall somewhere else. I'm just so much against tolls, I can't think of a positive thing that I could think of to say that a toll would bring to this parish. I just can't think of it. And I don't think any rational person will want to add a cost like that to just a small select group of folks. One more real quick thing, I got some time left. We could be building the wrong bridge. We need to build a Peters Road, Walker Road bridge. You build that bridge, you got another 2 lanes. You build this bridge, you still only got 4 lanes. I mean, you know, also, as we all know, you build the other bridge, virtually all of the heavy traffic, the 18-wheelers, the heavy equipment will go over that way to Peters Road. I've talked to folks in the Peters Road area. They would love to rebuild the Peters Road corridor for business. That would be a help for us. What about the railroad that's going to be coming by? Gretna's still fighting it. We all know at some point in time the railroad's going to be built over in that vicinity. Get rid of the railroad traffic and the heavy traffic in Belle Chase, we got a different community. We can live a lot better. But tolls is not going to get it for us. So I don't know. If I said anything that helps you guys out, thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, Michelle Herbert, Chair for the Plaquemines Association of Business and Industry. My message is going to be a little bit different. On behalf of PABI, we agree with the Council's previous resolution, which was opposed proposals which have been presented so far. It is a very similar position to where PABI has been. We do not agree with completely closing the door on supporting any additional proposals which may include a toll. To draw a hard line in the sand now is not constructive because the process is continuing. We respect Councilmember Roussel's opinion and the opinion of the No Tolls Group that they are unwavering in not wanting any tolls. At the same time, we recognize the benefit a new bridge will bring to our community and remain open to listen to future proposals. We believe the council as a whole should remain vigilant in monitoring the process, but at the same time, not go on record with a definitive stance against a toll until the final options are known. For me, as a resident of Plaquemines Parish, this is not a plug for or against tolls. I can tell you part of my concern is that both the bridge and the tunnel have exceeded their intended lifespan. If we do not have the option for a new bridge in the near future, there's concern with public safety, any significant structural defects that could occur. Best case scenario, maybe we have, a prolonged period where traffic is really bad. Worst case scenario, there could be injury or loss of life. So I think that needs to be taken into consideration too. As we go through this process, if this is shut down, what is the alternative, and then how long is that going to take? Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Vic Scarsoni. I'm a founding member of the NoTolls.org. I went to the meeting, the last Joint Transportation Committee meeting, and I was a little disturbed about what I heard in there. For one thing, if you're bored one day, they have a video that's on the internet. You could actually look at the whole thing. It's about 2.5 hours long. I've done it many times. I guess I don't have a life. But anyway, what they say about the 2 hours and 21 minute part, and it was Senator Cortez that said this, and I quote, "I think what the committee has heard today is we don't want any tolls." That's what we heard. Second thing we heard is that we want the bridge if you, the state, is willing to pay for it, unless I'm not hearing you correctly. But what I'm hearing is that even if the toll was 1 nickel to cross that bridge, they don't want it. At least some don't, is what he said. And then I think it was after that he had said there were 2 resolutions that were passed by the parish council that's saying they don't want tolls. The representative that represents the district says they don't want tolls. So I just don't know how this committee from other parts of the state can take action to impose tolls. To me, he interpreted that to say no tolls, not negotiate, not we're at a standing at no tolls. That's what the Joint Transportation Committee chairperson heard. And there was nobody that said anything to the contrary. Nobody stood up and said, that's not what we're saying. They had President Kirk Lapine was there. They had Benny Roussel. They had Chris Leopold, and nobody said anything when he said that. So I think that was the consensus of that's what they heard. Now, that's not maybe what they meant. That's what they heard. Another thing that really bothered me is that one of the members made a comment. He said that if this doesn't pass, if our bridge project does not pass, there's going to be serious ramifications for the state. Moreover, the Lake Charles Bridge and the Baton Rouge Bridge. Now, if that's not holding a gun to your head and saying, if you don't take this, the state's going to suffer. Now, I would be very cautious that somebody that understands this and says that, because I don't think that the parish should be held hostage over this deal. And I think that's where he was going with this. Now, the other thing that bothered me is that we finally found out that there is a windfall. So once the plenary will exceed the expectations that they placed upon their comprehensive agreement, whatever that is, we don't know, they created a windfall account. That windfall account will take all the extra monies, put it into account, and guess who decides where it goes? Not you. The state. They're going to figure out where they want to put it. It could pay down the loan we have here. Could. He said it may. He didn't say it will. He said it may. So I would be real cautious about going into these negotiations. Listen to the words they say. Don't think you know what they're saying. Listen to the words they say, because words means everything. And so that being said, I just hate to see the parish sell its soul for a bridge that's not going to give us anything more. This bridge is not going to help our traffic issue. It's evident. 5 o'clock, we're still in curfew. We still have traffic. It's not going to give us any more routes out of here. In 1968, I told you this before, we had how many routes out of here? We had Woodland and we had Belchase Highway. Here we are, 2019, we have Woodland, Belchase Highway. That's all we got. So everybody's saying Peters Road, and I think that's the way to go. But that's not part of this discussion. That's for another discussion later on. So in closing, I just hope that everybody would stay as a cohesive unit here. We'll say the same thing. I hope you keep your heartbeat to the constituents, the people of the parish, because it's going to affect the parish quite a bit if, $600 million gets sucked out of this region. And I don't think we could live through that. I really don't. So thank you very much for your time, guys.
Good afternoon. My name is Nancy LaHaye, District 2, Plaquemine Parish. I have two questions, but before that, someone brought up the issue of residents coming and going in and out, having to cross the bridge, non-residents, businesses, trucks, vehicles, commercial vehicles. I think that probably I would be safe in saying that 45% of your teachers do not live in this parish. And if by our lowering what it costs the residents of this parish, remember, I live District 2, so anytime I go back and forth, I have to pay once this goes into place. Your principal lives north of the tunnel. However, you will lose teachers if they make up the difference between a residence fee and persons coming in and out non-resident. That could cost, I think we had figured $300 it would cost before this new, I think on the 45 cent. They can't afford that. They will go elsewhere. Other parishes are giving raises. Why would they? Why would they pay that fee to and from to come and teach here, and it's going to cost them? So that's something that everybody needs to look at. Many of them don't live here. They can't afford to. So that is definitely something your school system could go down quickly if you can't get quality teachers because it costs them too much to come and go. I'll leave that where it is for you to think about it. Some of you know very well what that could mean. Is there $26 million set aside to completely renovate the Belchase Tunnel if, in fact, we lose the P3 or we don't do the P3? We choose not to do it. Is there $26 million? I've heard this, but no one has officially told me that.
Yeah, that's my understanding from DOTD, and it's, you say to totally renovate and fix, it's an attempt to totally renovate and fix. And that was words from them.
Okay, so in other words, there's $26 million to spend on the existing tunnel. 20 years ago, I was president of the Civic Association, Belchase Civic Association. One of our main issues and complaints of the public was the bridge and how often it opened. So that hasn't changed. However, in investigating it, we found that boat comes first, train second, vehicles next. But also, when a boat toots for the bridge to open, it must open. But the bridge tender is supposed to report the numbers of that bridge, the registration numbers to the state of that boat, if in fact all he had to do was lower his antennas and go through without opening the bridge. It made a huge difference in how much that bridge opened. So that may be something that, I've never sat 30 minutes on it, on the bridge, but many times I have sat and nothing passed through but the antenna. And they are supposed to lower their antenna. But whoever is the bridge tender has to report that. They have to open it if it's requested. But they are supposed to report to the state the number, and then the state is supposed to then take action with the boat captain. So that's all I have to say, but I am not for the toll. I'm just not. I won't be. I think it will be a nightmare. I think it will kill our parish if they do move what we were going to pay to non-residents and vehicles and business. I just can't see and we have no control over it, what it happens in the future. I just can't see that that's a smart thing for us to do. Thank you.
My name is Mike Scorsoni. I'm also one of the founding members of NoTolls.org. I appreciate everything that the council is doing with this. So I went to the joint transportation meeting back on Friday the 13th, and it was pretty interesting. One thing that I saw when you got in there, you got the green card or red card that they were passing around. Those that in opposition would grab the red card, fill it out, but I was surprised how many green cards they had. You know, when they were, and I thought to myself, out of those green cards that were filled out, how many people filled a green card out that actually lived here in Plaquemines Parish? None. So what does that tell me? That tells me that they've got a lobby group of some sort that wants this project passed. Okay? We know all these Joint Transportation Committee members. I would ask the council, please, if we could maybe get a letter together and send individually to each member on the Joint Transportation Council and say, we don't want this. Sean Wilson, I guess they're going to have another Joint Transportation Committee meeting coming up. And mind you, we could say all we want in here. They have the vote. Okay? So we could oppose it all we want here. They have the vote. So we have to make it clear and approach each individual member there that, please, vote this thing down. Let's try again. In the meanwhile, I know Representative Leopold has had a meeting with the Coast Guard back on August 9th to discuss lengthening the curfew on the bridge from right now it goes from 3:30 to 5:30. You can't raise it. So he was pushing for another hour on that curfew. Spoke to him just recently. They haven't heard anything back, but as a council, please just maybe keep reminding him, that'll help with traffic woes in Belchase. That bridge goes up at 5:30 and you've got traffic backed up past Belchase High School. That's pretty much everything I have. Thank you.
I'm Ray Figo. I'll be really short. All right, listening to everyone here, it's a P3 project. It's federal money, correct?
Yes. Well,
all right.
Portion.
Yeah, a portion of it. Well, the federal money is the issue. The federal money is forcing the toll or some other.
The federal component, the $45 million federal component is what is enforcing the toll or tax. Yes.
Right. It's a bad deal. I've seen these P3 projects when I was in the military, the public-private ventures, and I've never seen one of them that really worked well. That's basically what it is. It's the federal government. My suggestion to y'all is, instead of all this fighting all this stuff at the lower end, go straight for the head, go to the federal government, go to whoever created the grant, and fight the grant there to have them change the grant where the state can get the money however they want and don't force us into this corner that we have to do it this way. The worst part about it is it affects a small community, and that's Plaquemines Parish. I mean, we're the only ones affected by it. It's a bad deal. Just go to the federal government, fight it there. I worked in Washington, D.C. in the past while I was in the military. Yes, you can get them to change their mind or change the grant. And if they change the grant, it'll put all the problem away. That's all we need to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Arthur Henry, Belchase. Listen, last year, a couple years ago, I stood right here in the same podium and talked about the P3. I told you it was a bad deal. Told you it was a bad deal. But now we have a new council here. We have a new council. And Mr. Roussel, I totally agree with your resolution. Mr. Black, look, you know, we have differences, but this is something for the people, man. And I've always said, and I always will, the people got to come first. The new council that's here, you know what the deal is. And let's be real. 90% of this council is on the west bank of the river. So it'll affect almost every council except Mr. Bartholomew. So everybody I talk to from Belchase to Booville, and I'm not getting to all that technical stuff about the joint committee and all that. I'm talking about everyday people. They do not want to pay a toll. They do not want to pay a toll. So I just would like the council, for once, everybody get on the same page, and fight this. Don't try to do this where, okay, we don't get this, let's do this. Let's stick with this same deal. No toll means no toll. That's what the people want. That's what the people want. Kind of do what your constituents want you to do. No toll means no toll. Do something together for the people, man, for the people.
Thank you. Mr. Landry, you only have one chance. All right, with that said, Mr. Henry, I confer with Mr. Gui, and he's allowing me to make the amendment on his behalf, well, not on his behalf, and the reason why I'm making this amendment, because it makes it unambiguous, it makes it clear. And therefore, on line 34, I'd like to make the amendment, remove the period behind project, and add the language as per resolution 19-206, and rejects any proposal that requires a toll or new tax component. I'm not going to vote for it. However, I'll vote for the amendment. So what we're doing now, I'm going to ask for a second on the amendment. Mr. Bartholomew? Oh, I'm going to go ahead and do the second. Mr. Gui seconds. I know. Mr. Gui seconds. Mr. Bartholomew on the amendment.
Thank you. Mr. Henry, appreciate your comments. Wait, he left?
He dropped the mic and left.
That's why you didn't want me to say anything. I was going to address Mr. Henry. But the East Bank do utilize the bridge a lot. All my family doctors on the northern end on Belchase side. That's why I'm opposed to a toll on the ferries. So I got to be against the toll on the bridge without no reservation. It's not right. It's another tax. That's what it means. You are having taxation again to accommodate whom? So, but anyway, I'm just letting you know I'm not in favor. No form of taxation, and especially tolls, because it has a direct impact. Don't let Mr. Henry know we use the bridge.
Mr. Russo?
Yes, would you restate the amendment, and then I'll have a comment?
Yeah, on 34, after replacement project, remove the period and add the phrase, as per resolution 19-206, and rejects any proposal that requires a toll or new tax component. And the reason why I added that, Mr. Russo, that's based on the conference call and the stipulations from the federal DOTD. And I can get you guys, I don't mind giving you a copy of the notes that I took.
Let me say something about that. That amendment is not well thought out. And the reason is that if the legislature goes in and proposes a 17-cent gasoline tax next year, and we have 2 years left on the grant, then we are not going to be on record as saying that we support that grant, that tax money, that gasoline tax, making up the difference.
How about new local tax component?
I'll buy that.
Okay, remove the second, Mr. Goode, if you don't mind. Would you mind? All right, second's removed, and now shall read. No, that's a good point, Mr. Russo. As per resolution 19-206, and rejects any proposal that requires a toll or new local tax component. Mr. Gui, seconds. Mr. Russo, it's fine.
Yes, thank you.
All right. With that said, any questions or comments from the table, from the audience? This is on the amendment only. This is not on the resolution. It's on the amendment only. Machine is open for a vote. And the amendment passes 8 with 1 abstention for myself. All right. All right, now we're back to the actual suspension, the resolution itself. Mr. Russo?
Yes, I'd like to close on the resolution and thank all of you for coming today and all of the hard work that you've put into this and the research. We would not be here today if it wasn't for notoll.org. I want y'all to realize that, because this thing would have sailed under the radar and we would be waking up after the race Saturday with a toll. So thank you very much for all of your work and your efforts, and I appreciate my colleagues' support finally coming to the realization that we say no toll. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to say, I do agree with Mr. Russo on this point, that I think that you guys have brought a lot of different things to light on the proposal. However, I'm not going to vote for this particular resolution because I still think we need to leave the door open. However, I'm an individual, and I recognize I am part of a body, a governing body, and if the council decides to vote on this particular resolution, which is now unambiguous and very clear, that we will accept no tolls or no new local tax component, then I'll accept that, and my fight is over. But I will just caution that there are ramifications to that, and I believe that we will jeopardize, I think that we will lose, not jeopardize, at least the $45 million plus some additional costs from the state. And so be it. That's what the people want. That's fine. And I'll take the position of whatever the governing body decides. However, if it may be silent, but that is the position. So with that, Mr. Russo, do you want to call the question? Or you want to
Call the question.
Question's been called. Machine is open for a vote. And it passes 7 with 1 nay from District 2 and 1 abstention from District 3.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah, I'll afford you the opportunity. You only have 30 seconds to a minute, please.
There are other alternatives to innovative funding that we need to look at. That doesn't include a toll or a tax. We just need to come up and think outside the box. We have businesses, we have banks that do bonding, and I've researched, there's 10 United States companies who do tolling if we toll just for the gap.
Okay, thank
and I know our toll group is against all tolls.
We're a little out of order, but thank you. If you would, Ms. Buford, you want to? I can email you a copy, or you can take a copy to pass out, or whatever you want. I'll email you. All right, it's fine. All right. With that said, all right, I'll give Mr. Albro. Wow. All right, we can't move on this. We got too many people in the queue, and it's not on the rules. All right, we're going to move to, so I can find my agenda here. Proclamations at Mr. Gooey's request. This is item number 3. We'll start off with item 3A. Ms. Marcotte.
3A, a proclamation declaring October 2019 as First Baptist Church 75th Anniversary Month in the Parish of Plaquemines.
Mr. Gooey. Mr. Gooey.
Yeah, I'll offer and ask for unanimous second.
Any objections to unanimous second? With none, unanimous second is heard. Let's go ahead and move to a vote on it first.
Okay.
Move to a vote. It passes 9-0. Mr. Gooey?
Yes. Barbara, would you please read the proclamation for us? And then.
A proclamation declaring October 2019 as First Baptist Church 75th Anniversary Month in the Parish of Plaquemines. Whereas First Baptist Church in Belle Chase is celebrating its 75th anniversary in October 2019, and whereas First Baptist Church was the first Baptist church to serve the residents of Belle Chase, Louisiana, and whereas Reverend Joe H. Tutton and group claimed God's promises in 1944, and whereas the first service was held on October 15, 1944 in the Belle Chase Auditorium and in homes of Baptist families, Belchase High School and members' homes were used until March 4, 1945, when the church services was first held in their first owned building. In 1983, the present building at 8828 Highway 23 began as the worship location of the church. And whereas the membership has been led by 15 pastors, with Jason Allen serving as the current pastor since 2014. And whereas for the past 75 years, the ministries and activities of First Baptist Church have been supported and maintained by its members, the community of Plaquemines Parish, the New Orleans Theological Seminary, and the Louisiana Baptist Association. Whereas God's faithfulness has sustained us for 75 years. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Plaquemines Parish Council, represented by its duly authorized chairman, William Bo Black, and by concurrence of the parish president, Kirk M. Lapine, representing the Plaquemines Parish government, that it hereby declares October 2019 as First Baptist Church 75th anniversary month in the parish of Plaquemines.
Thank you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
Dr. Gouy.
Yes, I know all of you are aware of the wonderful organization we have in Belchase, the First Baptist Church. My personal contacts were with my kids going to the kindergarten, pre-K, and you didn't kick them out, which I appreciated very, very much. And I don't think anyone can forget what you did after Katrina, with helping our community, serving meals, being on the first line. Also, I was very privileged to be on the council when the expansion took place back in the 80s, when the new thing was done. And so you've been here a long time, and I would love to have Pastor Jason Allen come up. And I know he's just dying to say something, and he has, I think he just got out of high school, last week? Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
I know.
Give me at least 6
You're
months.
so lucky.
Well, thank you so much, Council, for the resolution. I've been the pastor at First Baptist Belchase for about 5 years now. And our church really just has one desire and one goal. And honestly, that is to make the name of Jesus great here in Plaquemines Parish. We have been radically transformed by the gospel of Jesus Christ, by his death, burial, and resurrection has changed our lives. And it makes us want to live a different life and to serve a different king. All the concerns, all the cares, all the things of this world. I know you all carry the weight of that on a daily basis, but there will come a day where that weight will no longer be on your shoulders, because this world will fade away, and we'll stand before God one day and give an account. And the only thing that really matters at the end of it all is, do we know him as our Savior and Lord, or do we not? And so our job as a church is to reach out and to show the love and the grace of God with the people of this parish and the surrounding areas. And for the last 75 years, that's been our goal. That's been our desire. And hopefully we've been able to do that through serving others and making people's lives better, whether that's through benevolence, whether through disaster relief after Katrina, whether just putting an arm around folks who are going through a difficult time and showing them the grace and the mercy of Christ in the midst of it. Bringing people hope, bringing people joy through the gospel of Jesus Christ. That's what we're here for. That's what we exist for. And I just want to offer to you as a council, to all those who are in here in this room, is that it's just this, that God loves you. And He loves you right where you are, no matter what you've done, no matter where you've been. And today, that no matter what you're going through, that there's hope and grace and joy in the name of Jesus. We also want to invite you to come and celebrate with us on October the 20th. We'll be having a big celebration service that morning at 10:30 at First Baptist Belchase. We're just going to take some time to remember the faithfulness of God over these last 75 years, but we're also going to take some time to look ahead to what God has in store for First Baptist Belchase and for this parish in the coming years. And so we're praying for you, council, for the job that you have to do. We're praying for this parish as it looks ahead to what God has in store. And above all, we just want to make the name of Jesus great. So thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it here today.
Photo.
All right, take a photo. You want to come on up? I think we'll just stay up here on the podium. On dais.
We can give him that copy. That's his copy. Is that President's office?
Amen.
Come on, Scott.
You afraid you'll sue them?
Scott, you're the best dressed. Come on.
You think you'll sue them?
There you go.
Come on in here.
One more official one, one with the real official. All right, thanks.
Thank you, man. We
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks. Yeah. All right, Ms. Marcotte, item B, please. No, Mr. Yeah, pretty much Mr. Gooey's, Mr. Bartholomew?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna go, give me this,
10H G deferred. And 9 F was wrong. Now you can go with that.
yeah, thanks. Ten what?
Which ones?
You said G.
BGH is deferred. 10F is withdrawn.
All right, Mr. Bartholomew's request, 10B, G, and H are deferred, and item 9F is withdrawn. All right, Ms. Marcotte, go back to 3B, please.
A proclamation declaring October 24, 2019 as World Polio Day in the parish of Plaquemines.
Dr. Gooey,
I offer and ask for unanimous second.
any objections? All right, none. Unanimous second is heard. I'll second, and we'll ask for a vote, and then we'll move to the proclamation. Machine's open. All right, Ms. Marcotte. Passes 9-0.
A proclamation declaring October 24, 2019 as World Polio Day in the parish of Plaquemines. Whereas Rotary International, founded on February 23, 1905 in Chicago, Illinois, is the world's first and one of the largest nonprofit service organizations with over 1.2 million Rotary Club members comprised of professional and business leaders in over 33,000 clubs in 200 countries and geographic areas. And whereas the Rotary motto, service above self, inspires members to provide humanitarian service, encourage high ethical standards, and promote goodwill and peace in the world. And whereas Rotary in 1985 launched Polio Plus and spearheaded the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, which today includes the World Health Organization, U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, UNICEF, and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to immunize the children of the world against polio. And whereas polio cases have dropped by 99.9% since 1988, and the world stands on the threshold of eradicating the disease. And whereas to date, Rotary has contributed to more than 1.8 billion in countless volunteer hours to the protection of more than 2.5 billion children in 122 countries. And whereas Rotary is currently working to raise an additional $50 million per year, which would be further leveraged for maximum impact by an additional $100 million from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And whereas these efforts are providing much-needed operational support, medical personnel, laboratory equipment, and educational materials for health workers and parents. And whereas, in addition, Rotary has played a major role in decisions by donor governments to contribute more than $8 billion to the effort. And whereas the Rotary Clubs of Belle Chase and Plaquemines South have been sponsoring service projects to address such critical issues as poverty, health, hunger, illiteracy, and the governments in their communities and abroad. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Plaquemines Parish Council, represented by its duly authorized chairman, W. Bo Black, and by concurrence of the parish president, Kirk M. Lapine, representing the Plaquemines Parish government, that it hereby declares October 24, 2019 as World Polio Day in the parish of Plaquemines.
Dr. Gooey?
Is from the Belle Chase Rotary Club and the Plaquemines South Club here, and do we have a spokesperson?
Okay. Yeah, I'm say it over loud.
No?
After you?
While they're coming up, let me say that back in 1985, when this initiative began, the world was inundated with polio. Some of us are old enough to remember the disease and how it affected many of our classmates when we were kids. We're down to 4 countries, and we can see it. We can see it coming. It will be eradicated. The only other disease that's ever been eradicated is smallpox. So I don't mind being second in line. One of the things that has really spearheaded once Rotary started this project was UNICEF, World Health Organization, Center for Disease Control jumping on the bandwagon. And there comes these 2 saviors, Bill and Melinda Gates, and said, hey, guess what? Every dollar you put up, we'll put up 2, up to $100 million. So, you know, the ball's rolling. We just need to get the job done. Bob, introduce yourself.
Chairman Black, Dr. Gouy, thank you very much. I'm Bobby Thomas. I've been a member of the Plaquemine South Rotary Club since 1982. Obviously, I joined when I was 11, so thank you. So on behalf of the Plaquemine South Rotary Club and the Belle Chase Rotary Club, who we've worked very closely with over the years, they were the reason that Plaquemine South Rotary Club was founded. A lot of cooperation between the 2 clubs. Thanks to this Plaquemine Parish government and this council for helping us with our fundraising efforts. One of our biggest ones, of course, is the Taco Toddies at the Orange Festival. Y'all might have had them once or twice. So I would like to read a statement. Some of this is repetitive from the statement earlier. Rotary is an international community that brings together leaders who step up to take on the world's toughest challenges, locally and globally. Rotary International efforts in the eradication of polio started in 1979 and is one of our longest standing and most significant efforts. In 1985, Rotary launched Polio Plus, the first and largest internationally coordinated private sector support of a public health initiative. Since then, Rotary, along with our partners, Bill Gates and his wife, etc., have helped immunize more than 2.5 billion children against polio in 122 countries. Rotary has contributed more than $1.8 billion towards eradicating this disease, reducing polio cases by 99.9% worldwide, and we're not going to stop until this disease is gone for good. So thank you very much for showing your support today.
Thank you. Mr. Blank?
Sure. Thank you all very much for your efforts. And I just, want to remind folks, the importance of getting vaccinated to prevent the spread of polio. So thank you all very, very much for your efforts.
Thanks. Any questions or comments from the table further?
I just wanted to say on behalf of the Rotary Club of Belle Chase, we thank you for the proclamation, but also we will be celebrating our World Polio Day on October 25th at the Rotary Orange Festival Golf Tournament. So we invite you all to come out for lunch if you like from 11 to 1. I think the tee-off is at 12. But we will be having some events that day to celebrate World Polio Day with the ball drop and the selling of a few extra things, right, Mr. Minaj? But anyway, we welcome you all to come out and join us that day. And again, thanks for the proclamation. I'm sorry that our president and our president-elect had to leave because of the delay, but they also would be appreciated.
All right, thanks. Do y'all want to come up for a photo? Or
Yeah, we have to have a photo.
is your bridge? Yeah, it's your bridge traffic. Come on, Stu, you come over there.
Where's Bobby?
Oh, we want to get work there, and you can do that.
I'm taller than you.
I'm supposed to be sneaking in. I'm the one who's in camera.
Right there. There it is. Everybody smile. We ready?
Yeah.
Hey, watch it there.
Wait. Sorry.
The real picture.
Good job. Thank you. How you doing?
Thank you. Y'all want to get your ball dry? Yeah, please. My eyes know. You give us some money, we drop your ball.
Yeah, thank you.
Wait, speaking to the
I'm gonna go to Stewart, get him out of my throat. The dentist office. You provide that service at the. I got a lot of stuff. I don't know. I got them lined up. All right, let's get back to the agenda. We got a long agenda left. But the record reflect that the Honorable John Bartholomew is.
He's going to do that quickly.
Oh, what you want to do something?
Yeah, I'd like to move your introduction on suspending the rules that we named the basketball court.
I'm gonna hold off on that. It's my legislation, so I haven't decided if I'm gonna defer it or not yet. All right, get back to the agenda. Tell you what, let's do the status report now. We'll get back in order.
Status report by the parish president.
Anybody from the administration?
The administration would like to just thank everyone who participated in buying the T-shirts for the Paint Plaquemines Pink Day. We well exceeded our goals. And if you didn't buy a T-shirt, you still can participate. Just wear a pink shirt that day. Breast cancer awareness. And everyone's been touched in some way, shape, or form. So we just wanted to thank everyone and let them know we appreciate their participation.
All right, thank you. Other questions or comments from the administration? Any from the table? Mr. Kodovic?
About the museum, I'd like to see if we could start putting the artifacts back in. Just last week, we've had people come from Israel, Ireland, England, a few other countries, and right now there's not much in it because it's all out. We had evacuated it.
Check on it.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments or questions from the table, for the administration or the audience? All right, with none, that concludes 4A, 1 and 2 as well. Anyone, 4A, 1 and 2? All right, none. Let's go to bids and advertisements, please. Item 5A, please.
A resolution authorizing the acceptance of bids for furnishing bulk diesel fuel for a period of 1 year for parish-wide use.
Offer ask for a second. Mr. Kodovic, seconds. Any questions or comments? All right, with none, machine is open.
Mr. LaFrance.
Passes 8-0. With the record reflect that Mr. Bartholomew is absent now. 5B.
A resolution authorizing the acceptance of bids for the disposal of scrap metal for a period of 2 years.
I'll offer an extra second. Mr. Albro, seconds. Mr. Blank.
Sure, I'm just checking to see if the Empire Wall is going to be included in that.
This is the normal scrap bid that you put the containers out at the different places, so I'm not sure that that is an option, but our new director of operations could probably help out with that wall a little bit better now that we have him in place.
Thank you very, very much.
Sorry, Scott.
Guess you won't ride on that golf club anymore, huh?
Guess not.
Mr. Blake, that's all? All right, any other questions or comments on that one? All right, with none, the machine's open. That's 8-0 as well. Beer and liquor licenses, go ahead and cue in.
Wait, we have two more, Mr. Black.
All right, Ms. Marcotte, you're going to have to read them.
Sure. 5C, a resolution authorizing the acceptance of bids for furnishing submersible pumps for a period of 1 year for parish-wide use.
I'll offer it ask for a second. Ms. Newberry, second. Any questions or comments from the table? From the audience? All right, with none, machine's open. Ms. Mara, right here. Yeah. Passes 8-0. One more, Ms. Marcano.
A resolution authorizing the disposal of destroyed equipment and furnishings located at Building 202 on the Belle Chase Government Complex.
I'll offer an action for a second. Second, Mr. Newberry. Any questions or comments? All right, with none, machine's open. Passes 8-0. All right, beer and liquor licenses, go ahead and queue in if you have one. Mr. Albro.
So I have two. Liquor license renewal for Belle Chase Tobacco Discount LLC at 8625 Highway 23, and a special events permit for the Plaquemines Community Care Center to be held at the Belle Chase Auditorium at 8398 Highway 23. I don't see the date. On the 23rd.
All right, and I have one. 10/26/19 from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. 455 Atwood Abbey Boulevard fundraiser for Paula's. That's all. No others? All right, any questions or comments from the table, from the audience? All right, with none, the machine is open. Passes 8-0. Any objection to taking items 7A, 1, 2, 3, and 5 in Globo? All right, with none, Ms. Marcotte, do 7A, 1, 2, 3, and then 5 together.
1, Phillips 66 Alliance Refinery, application number 2019-543, dated August 12, 2019. Install 6 12-inch steel piles and associated concrete foundations. 15551 LA Highway 23, Belle Chase, Councilmember LaFrance. Number 2, Kinder Morgan IMT, application number 2019-669, dated September 30, 2019. Emergency excavation to conduct repairs on leaking pipe. 18559 Highway 23, Port Sulphur, Councilmember LaFrance. Number 3, Kinder Morgan IMT, application number 2019-670, dated September 30, 2019. Replace non-piling sets in kind and install a new pile near the middle of the fleeting area. 18559 Highway 23, Port Sulphur, Councilmember LaFrance. Number 5, Hillcore Energy Company, application number 2019-639, dated September 19, 2019. Install 4-inch flow line Rattlesnake Bayou area. Councilmember Blink.
Off by Mr. LaFrance, second by Mr. Blink. Any questions or comments from the table, from the audience? All right, with none, the machine is open. And it passes 6 with 0 nays and 2 abstentions. Mr. Bartholomew is absent. Abstentions from District 2 and District 9. Any objection to taking 7A4 and that's it, just 7A4, go ahead.
Kinder Morgan, Jewel Marlene Ruiz, application number 2019-638, dated September 18, 2019. Install bulkhead, boat shed, and dock, 169 East Bayou Lane, Lake Hermitage. Councilmember LaFrance.
Mr. LaFrance offers, ask for a second. Ms. Conover seconds. Any questions or comments from the audience, from the table? All right, with none, the machine is open. It passes 8-0. Item B, please.
Edgar Lumbreras, trailer residence in a floodplain zoning district, 21065 Highway 23, Point Celeste, Louisiana. Councilmember LaFrance.
Mr. LaFrance offers, ask for a second. Mr. Blink, seconds. Any questions or comments? Machine is open for a vote. It passes 8-0. Let's move to item 8, introductions, resolutions, and ordinances. Go ahead and queue in if you have any. I'll start. I have a few. In ordinance to amend the 2019 Manpower Instruction and Operating Expenditure Budget, General Fund, Interim Employee Training Department, Coastal Zone Land Department, Director of Operations Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Resolution supporting S2418 and HR 3814, which seek to increase Gulf Mesa revenue sharing with Gulf Coast states, strenuously objecting to the allocation of federal mineral revenue to federal programs, unless the allocation also increases the Gulf Mesa revenue that is shared with the Gulf Coast states. Thanking Senators Cassidy and Kennedy and Congressman Richmond and Graves for their leadership in this critically important effort of achieving increased revenue sharing for Louisiana to Gulf Mesa, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. An ordinance adopting the original operating budget of revenues and expenditures for the Plaquemines Parish government for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2020 and ending December 31st, 2020, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. An ordinance establishing a policy of budgetary control for the operating budget of expenditures for the Plaquemines Parish government for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2020 and ending December 31st, 2020, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. An ordinance adopting the original capital improvement budget for the Plaquemines Parish government for the 5-year period beginning January 1, 2020 and ending December 31st, 2024, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 2019 5-year capital improvements plan, various projects, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 2019 operating revenue and expenditures budgets, various funds, various departments, various line items, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 2019 firefighting fund, operating expenditure budget, firefighting departments, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 2019 general fund, manpower structure, flood control department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Resolution establishing the dates, times, and places of public hearings on the proposed 2020 operating budget and on the proposed capital improvements budget covering the period of at least 5 years as submitted by the parish president to authorize the council secretary to place the necessary public notice in the Plaquemines Gazette pursuant to section 7.02A and 7.05C of the Charter for Local Self-Government, Parish of Plaquemines, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. And we know it is budget season, so there you go. Mr. Russo.
Yes, it's an ordinance authorizing the President of Plaquemines Parish Government to enter into an agreement with the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development, assigning its interest in 3 separate parcels of property owned by Plaquemines Parish that are needed for the state project number H008068 Peters Road Bridge and Extension Phase 2, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Is that all? That's all.
That's it.
All right, Ms. Newberry.
I have 2, a resolution expressing support for the Plaquemines Parish Economic Development Department to enter into a Louisiana Development Ready Communities Program, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution authorizing and directing the parish president to take any and all actions necessary, including the initiation of civil legal proceedings against the Point LaHash Volunteer Fire Department to ensure that grants made by Plaquemines Parish government to the Point LaHash Volunteer Fire Department have and continue to be expensed in conformity with Article 7, Section 14 of the Constitution of the State of Louisiana.
Thank you. Dr. Gouy.
An ordinance to amend and as amended readopt ordinance number 1762, which suspended the third water rate, sewage, and refuge fee increases and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Mr. LaFrance.
I have 3 for Mr. Bartholomew. An ordinance prohibiting the hunting of certain property owned by Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise to provide respect thereto. A resolution authorizing and directing the parish president or his designee to fill in a hole left after Katrina located on Highway 15 behind the Bethlehem Baptist Church in Point LaHash, Louisiana, otherwise to provide respect thereto. An ordinance authorizing the execution of the extension of a lease of Lot A, Porties, for the period of 20 years pursuant to the provision of Louisiana Revised Statute 41:1217, the lessee having met all of the requirements of law and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. I have 3 for my District 7. An ordinance to authorize Plaquemines Parish government on the behalf of Plaquemines Parish in the West Bank Levy District as grantor to approve a pipeline right-of-way agreement with Venture Global Gator Express, LLC, as guarantee. to construct and operate two 42-inch natural gas pipeline over, across, and under 3 separate tracts of land located in Section 16, Township 17, South Range 25 East, and in Section 3, 10, and 15, and Township 18, South Range 25 East, and authorize the parish president to execute the pipeline right-of-way agreement and otherwise to provide respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 2019 Library Service Fund operating expenditure budget, Library General Department, and otherwise to provide respect thereto. A resolution expressing the Plaquemine Parish Council support of the construction of a floodgate in Myrtle Grove instead of a wraparound levee as proposed by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, authorizing and directing the parish president to do all things necessary and proper to formally request a cost estimate from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers for a floodgate, and authorizing and directing the parish president to seek the state of Louisiana support through the CPRA and otherwise to provide respect thereto. That's it, Mr. President.
Mr. Blank?
Sure. An ordinance to amend and amended to readopt Section 4 of Ordinance Number 142, the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance of Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as amended, and the Comprehensive Zoning District Map therein adopted by reference, and which is Paragraph 4A2 with reference to application number 2019-415 dated September 3rd, 2019.
All right, thank you. None, you said? None. All right. Yeah, I know, man. I got it, guys. I've done it before. All right, at the request of Ms. Mitra Rose, we're going to move to items 9A3.
An ordinance to amend and amended to readopt Section 4 of Ordinance Number 142, the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance of Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as amended, and the Comprehensive Zoning District Map therein adopted by reference, and which is paragraph thereto, with reference to application number 2019-404, dated August 12, 2019.
All right, thank you. Ms. Rose, this, I'll offer next for a second. Mr. Russo seconds. Ms. Rose, this is I3 to, is this the I3 one?
Yes.
The C2?
No, I3 to R1A.
Okay, it's I3 to R1A.
Yes, sir.
I'd ask for support, definitely moving I3 off of Woodland Highway and making it residential. Any questions or comments from the table? All right, from the audience? All right, with none, the machine's open. It passes 8-0. Ms. Marcotte, 984, please.
An ordinance to amend and amended to readopt Section 4 of Ordinance Number 142, the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance of Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as amended, and the Comprehensive Zoning District Map therein adopted by reference, and which is paragraph thereto, with reference to application number 2019-405, dated August 12, 2019.
I'll offer. Dr. Dewey seconds. This is the one, this is the I3 to C2? All right, same situation, but it's to C2. Any questions or comments from the table? All right, from the audience? The none, machine is open. Passes 8-0. With that, I'm going to withdraw items G and H. Anybody have anything for Ms. Rose? You're free to go, man, if you want to, I guess. You're done. All right. Anybody have any, Dr. You said you had somebody to move up?
Yes. If you could, item 10A1 for suspension.
All right, let's do 10A1 for suspension, please.
10A1, a resolution authorizing and directing the parish president or his designee to do all things necessary and proper to assist the Plaquemines Parish Fair and Orange Festival and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer for suspension.
Dr. Gooey offers suspension. Mr. Kokrovich seconds. Any questions or comments on suspension? All right, with none, machine is open on the suspension.
And Ms. Kim.
Suspension.
Dr. Gooey.
Suspension passes 8-0. Give me 1 second. Dr. Gooey offers. Mr. Kokrovich seconds. Give me a second to clear the machine. All right, Dr. Gooey.
Yes, I'll offer and ask for a second.
It's seconded by Mr. Kokrovich.
I've just been informed that these items were taken out of some people's packets. Mine? Yeah. So we have representatives here from the Plaquemines Parish Fair and Orange Festival, including His Majesty. The information here is what we do, a standard CEA year after year with the Orange Festival. It's a cooperative endeavor agreement. If there's any, the administration can provide any more insight, I'd appreciate it. That was it, right? Pretty much it, huh? So I'll answer any questions, or the administration will answer any questions, and then I would like to bring either King or our clerk of court up if they have any questions that they have. Okay, floor.
Hi, Kim Turlidge Vaughan. I'm the president of the Plaquemines Parish Fair and Orange Festival and the clerk of court, but thank you, Stuart. I don't have any questions. I know you sent someone over to talk to me about the CEA. We just know that we have a certain amount of time for us to have that executed before the festival, so 60 days. So I'm just here on behalf of the Orange Festival to see if you have any questions for us, or is there any issues with the current CEA for us to be able to execute it?
We haven't seen it. If you have any questions. I have no questions.
Got him. All right, with none, Mr. Go, you want to move?
Say it again?
Would you like to move for a vote?
Oh, yeah, I would. I mean, everything's
Yeah.
pretty standard on, and listen, everyone was emailed this, and it was my understanding that we didn't have enough votes for a suspension, and then I heard about the time limit, and then now we have enough votes for the suspension, and that's why it's not in your packet, but it was all emailed out.
Okay, and as you mentioned, our Majesty, our King Jeff White is here. He is also the manager of the Fair and Festival. So at any time, if any of you have any questions about the operations of what goes on during the setup and the festival weekend, he's easily reached and be more than happy to help answer any of your questions.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
No other questions or comments? All right, machine's open for a vote. And the resolution passes 8-0. Hope for good weather this year.
And we welcome you all to attend, please.
We have any items with employees in the room that can be released? Does anybody want to move on anything? Or we just want to go back through? All right, I'm sorry, Ms. Newberry did request that before, I forgot, sorry. 10J.
Discussion by Joni Bethel and Entergy regarding power poles in Jesuit Bend. Councilmember Newberry.
Yes. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me here. Ms. Newberry asks that I update you on the transmission and distribution project on Highway 23. As background, many of you know Entergy Louisiana has built a new 230 kV transmission line between our Oakville and Alliance substations. This 230 kV line was designed and built to increase reliability and redundancy and was focused on storm hardening. This project was the third phase of the SELA project, which followed the construction of two substations and another 230 kV transmission line. The project involves 10.5-mile line route, which includes about 7 miles within the Louisiana Highway 23 right-of-way. Before constructing the new line, the team had to first eliminate several interferences. The work included moving portions of Entergy's distribution line to increase electrical clearances, asking the parish to relocate 4 miles of water main, and requesting other utilities to move their gas and phone lines. The team tried to accommodate landowners' requests, such as building the structures a certain distance from the property lines or driveways. The new line provides an additional transmission feed to the lower part of the parish, which is situated at the fringe of Entergy Louisiana's transmission system. Now that the new line is in service, reliability to parishes in southeast Louisiana is improved. Also, the line is providing additional capacity in an area that is rapidly growing. Now that the new 230 kV line is energized, it has opened the door for construction of other planned projects to begin while increasing reliability throughout the community, as well as the focus on storm hardening. The structures are designed to withstand winds of up to 150 miles per hour, and Entergy has opted to move to a pole and foundation design that allows poles to stand on their own, making them more reliable over the long term. There were 3 components of this portion of the project. Component 1 was to build the new transmission line, including the new 34.5 kV feed. This was completed in the spring of 2018. The next component was to move the existing customers to the new feeds. This was going to be done in 5 sections, but this part of the project included some additional wood pole installations, which required a different DOTD permit. So that delayed the project to the start of fall 2018. And Section 1 was begun in that time frame, but was halted due to the high river levels, which lasted for a year and has caused me many, many headaches. This phase has begun again this fall of October 2019, and the expected completion date is the first quarter of 2020, barring any other issues with river levels, etc. Once all the customers are moved to the new feed, Entergy will be topping off the poles, removing the unsightly cross arms and other equipment from the existing poles to the cable and phone level. This will clean up the area and greatly improve the appearance. Component 3 of this project is to have the cable and phone lines moved to the new feed. The providers are New Wave and AT&T. New Wave has verbally agreed to do so. We're still in conversations with AT&T and hope that we will be successful with that. And then once all the facilities are removed from any existing poles, those poles will be removed. We also, during this time, the parish water lines, some of them were moved and redone, and we found that it has been reported to us that there's a small number of water leaks, and we're working with the parish to get those repaired in conjunction with the project. Just wanted to add to that for the East Bank constituents, the Port Nickel River Crossing project has also begun. This will be a project that will involve construction of a line that will cross the river from the East Bank to the West Bank, increasing reliability and redundancy to the East Bank of Plaquemines Parish. They're in the geotech portion of that process, gathering information for the permit. The permit will take about 18 months, and the target for construction to begin is the second half of 2021.
Joni, thank you very much for attending. I appreciate it. I hope this kind of satisfied and answered a lot of questions. It's definitely been an eyesore, all those poles. People have been complaining, and of course, with the river being high. So
we couldn't even remove a pole. We couldn't install a pole. We couldn't remove a pole. We couldn't straighten a pole. There was not much we could do.
It's good to see that energy's moving, and we definitely look forward to the end of this project. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks for having me here today.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Russo?
Ms. Joni, before you leave, the nickel line, is it going under the river?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Dogdovich?
Ms.
Oh,
Jones.
wait.
Ms. Jones.
Sorry.
I know you're in the hot seat now. Once you get up there,
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to stay put.
In Venice, I've been getting complaints about the safety lights around the Bootville School, and there's 13 of them out.
Okay, I have not heard of that till this moment. So I will get that taken care of. I know for Mr. Blink, we're working on the Empire Harbor.
Thank you so much for your help there.
You're welcome.
The lights were on the other night.
Oh, perfect. Okay, great.
We have 7 other people on the queue. No, I'm joking. I just have one last question, just for clarification, because I know we have
You
some
always
council
get me.
members and wood pole, Entergy.
Wood pole, for the most part, are Entergy's. Other type poles, aluminum, stainless steel, are usually owned by the parish.
Okay, so it's Astro.
But we are first responders to a parish streetlight.
Okay.
That's in the agreement. That's what we do. We're the first responders. There's some situations where they're decorative lights that maybe we don't have the right bulbs and things, and we work with y'all on that. Just as an aside, I've got to meet most of y'all. I've been in this position for a year and a half. I am your representative, so please feel free to reach out to me with any concerns. I think I've talked to most of y'all already.
Yeah, Joni, you've been very receptive, so thanks a lot for everything you do for us.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Off the hook.
I'm off the hook? All right. See y'all later.
Oh, besides, hey, Mr. LaFrance. Oh, he snuck in there. Mr. LaFrance?
Yes,
Right
sir.
here.
How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Good.
I have one request for you.
Okay.
Highway 23, St. Jude Road.
Okay.
When Fieldway came in and they did the levee, and I know that was a company that came in and do the road. We had a light at Highway 23 and St. Jude Road.
Okay.
There
It's not
isn't
there
anymore.
Okay. I'll go back
And I
to
was
our
trying to
mapping.
find out.
and-
I didn't have the plans to see whether or not who was supposed to reinstall it or not, but it's a safety issue because that light always let the people know where to turn to get on to St. Jude Road.
Highway
and-
23 and St. Jude Road,
Oh.
Boothville, Venice School. Okay.
And especially now the weather's going to be starting to get foggy, so it's really a safety issue.
Okay. I'm going to write my note right before I leave, and I'll get on that tomorrow as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank y'all so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. All right, 9A1, please.
9A1, an ordinance to rescind, annul, and set aside ordinance number 403 adopted December 8, 1982, rescind, annul, and set aside Section 6 and Section 7 of ordinance number 40 adopted April 9, 1964, establish Article 9 to be titled Mosquito Control of Chapter 13 of the Parish Code of Ordinances, establish a user fee for mosquito control in order to continue to abate, control, eradicate, and study mosquitoes and other arthropods of public health importance in all activities incidental thereto, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Blank.
Sure, I'd like to offer as read, and I have a.
Need a second.
Sorry, I do have some additional. Oh, God.
All right, Mr. Blank offers, Ms. Newberry seconds. Go ahead, Mr. Blank.
Sure. Julia right now is pulling a number of sample fee schedules. Just give her a second to get that IT worked out. But what we went and did is by water meter size. So for instance, a 3/4 inch water meter all the way up to a 10-inch water meter. We went and looked to see what would it look like for, just say working class people to pay less money. So $5 for, say, a 3/4 inch line, and then maybe $10 for a 10-inch line. There's only one in the parish. And then, we ran these numbers, a number of different ways, and we just want to present that to the council to see, what are your opinions and which one of these should we adopt? Here are some numbers here. So at the very top, there are the size of the water meters. Just below that, the water districts are slightly different than our districts. You could see by the size of the water meter, the numbers underneath that is the amount of water meters in that particular water district. And so, you could see the totals there at the bottom. So say, for instance, fee schedule A with $5 being charged to the 3/4 inch water line, going up to $10 for the 10-inch line. That would bring in $582,000 of revenue per year to handle mosquito control. That would be a dedicated fund, an enterprise fund solely set up to take care of a mosquito abatement. $5 across the board would bring in $557,000 a year. A little bit different methodology where, $5 for people with a 3/4 inch line, 7 for a 1-inch line, going up to 12 for a 10-inch line, would be about $607,000. So I wanted to put this in front of you. And then, we mentioned just 9 across the board, which would take care of mosquito control in its entirety, would bring in slightly more than $1 million, would be $1,003,860 per year. But I was wondering if there's any comments from my colleagues or the public here, find out which one of these fits best for our community.
Mr. Russo?
Mr. Blink, you know that I've been watching this proposal, but after listening to the introduction today about adding another increase of the water bill and not knowing what this body is going to do, I think we need to regroup and decide how are we going to handle all of these increases. I mean, if we're going to include the next rate increase on the water bill and add an additional fee on it, we are really pushing the limit.
Certainly.
So I would appreciate us to get a direction. This is something that I would be more attained to, is putting a ballot proposal on for a millage to let the people decide, and then we get rid of that disparity about who pays which size of meters. It'll actually be based on their property tax bill if they decide to vote on that. So if you own borough pits and you own hundreds of acres, obviously you will pay more than if you own a 100 by 100 foot lot. And this just came to mind when I heard Dr. Gouy introduce the next water rate increase, not knowing what we're going to be doing. So, you know, we're stacking up the chips, and before we know it, it's not going to be very consistent with what we really want to do, is my point.
Sure. So I'll offer this for discussion only then today? That's
well,
fine with
I mean, you know, if the will is there to pass this, I'm just putting you on notice that I can't vote for it without knowing what's going to happen at the next meeting with the third water rate increase. So, I mean, the bill is going to be, we're going to be having a New Orleans reputation soon if we keep loading the wagon on the water bill.
I agree.
I'm not sure what's going on here, but I agree with Mr. Russo again. So I would ask you to defer that. Ms. Newberry?
I don't know if I totally agree with Mr. Russo, because this is the issue of a lot of the parish citizens asking us to maybe increase the fees instead of adding to the ad valorem tax or property tax. So I don't disagree with the deferral. Maybe we can talk about this some more, but I'm kind of in favor of the $5 fee on the water bill. That way everybody has to have mosquito control, and everybody pays a little fee, and it makes it fair across the board without having to put a property tax on the to the people. Thank you.
Legal?
Yeah, I just want to say, I realize we may be deferring this, but Mr. Blink, the ordinance that was originally presented was per connection, and so I just want to make sure that when you're doing this, we're doing apples and oranges. Obviously, some meters have 5 or 6 connections to them, and so actually, if you go by connection, it's over 10,000 total. And so, for the purposes of calculating this again, or perhaps when we discuss it next go around, we just might want to take that into consideration.
Absolutely. I'll provide that information for the body.
Mr. Kogovich?
I wouldn't mind the $5, but I'm more in, let's getting everybody who has property, because there's a lot of property owners that's have pits in their property. That's what's breeding most of the mosquitoes. You own to the 40 open line, so, you know, everybody will pay that way, and just instead of just the people who have water meters.
Dr. Gouy?
Yeah, Richie, I think that between what I introduced and with this, let's try to work up some type of compromise to where it's fair to everyone, and we got 2 weeks to do that.
Got it.
Okay.
Mr. Blank?
Sure. I just want to say I want to make this available to the public. I'll have it, if folks want to request that, I can give it directly to them, or I could put it in a public place like Facebook where they can go and take a look at it themselves.
All right. You wish to defer at this time?
Yeah, we'll defer it today.
Okay. That item is deferred.
Thank you all for y'all's time. Any public comments before we move on? Okay.
All right, none? All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Blank. Item 2 is deferred. Item 3 has been voted on. 4 has been voted on. Item 5, please.
9A5, an ordinance to amend and as amended, readopt Section 17.5-2 of Chapter 17.5 Article 1, Parks, Recreation, and Parish Facilities of the Code of Ordinances, and to repeal, annul, and set aside all previous ordinances adopted relative to the rental of parish facilities and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
You going to offer Mr. Albro or Mr. Gui?
Actually, that's Mr. Albro.
All right, Mr. Albro offers.
I was going to offer with changes. Would you mind reading those changes?
Sure. Okay. On page 2 of the ordinance, Section B, we're under fees for Belle Chase Government Complex, we're changing the word pavilion to festival grounds. And in the paragraph underneath that on line 94, we're removing the word pavilions and. Under number 1, fee schedule, line 102, we're changing the amount from $1,500 per day to $900 per day. And we're adding, after the word for Belle Chase, we're adding government complex, then it'll say festival, and then we're adding the word grounds and removing the word pavilion, and we're moving the words behind government complex. On number B, line 105, after Fort Jackson, we're adding festival grounds. C, on line 107, we're changing the price from $150 to $100 per hour. And it'll be for the Belle Chase Government Complex Festival grounds, we're moving the word pavilion. On page 3, we're adding section C, which will read as follows. Section C, fees for the multipurpose building. 1, event rental for the entire multipurpose building. A, $400 for 3-hour minimum for residents. B, $600 for 3-hour minimum for non-residents, all persons who do not reside in Plaquemines Parish and organizations not registered in Plaquemines Parish. C, $1,000 for 10-hour minimum for residents. D, $1,500 for 10 minimum for non-residents, all persons who do not reside in Plaquemines Parish and organizations not registered in Plaquemines Parish. E, $500 reservation damage and cleanup deposit shall be paid at the time of reservation. If damage is incurred in excess of the deposit, the contracting party applicant shall be held fully liable for the entire cost of the damage. F, final payment is due no later than 90 calendar days prior to the date of the scheduled event or at a time of reservation, whichever occurs later. Number 2, event rental for 1 baseball court. A, $75 per 1 hour for residents. B, $100 per 1 hour for non-residents, all persons who do not reside in Plaquemines Parish and organizations not registered in Plaquemines Parish. C, $650 for 10 hours for residents. D, $800 per 10 hours for non-residents, all persons who do not reside in Plaquemines Parish and organizations not registered in Plaquemines Parish. E, final payment is due no later than 90 calendar days prior to the date of the scheduled event or at the time of the reservation, whichever occurs later. Number 3, event rental for multipurpose stage area. A, $100 per 1 hour for residents. B, $150 per 1 hour for non-residents, all persons who do not reside in Plaquemines Parish and organizations not registered in Plaquemines Parish. C, $650 per 10 hours for residents. D, $800 per 10 hours for non-residents, all persons who do not reside in Plaquemines Parish and organizations not registered in Plaquemines Parish. E, $250 reservation damage and cleanup deposits shall be paid at the time of reservation. If damage is incurred in excess of the deposit, the contracting party applicant shall be held fully liable for the entire cost of the damage. F, final payment is due no later than 90 days prior to the date of the scheduled event or at a time of reservation, whichever occurs later. 4, event rental for the multipurpose concession stand. A, $100 per reservation. Changing section C to D. Under section D, number 4, line 211, adding the following. Under no circumstances shall the following conduct or items be permitted in parish buildings: cigarette smoking, illegal drug use possession, fighting, bullying, cooking, boiling, frying motorized devices, livestock or animals, pyrotechnic devices, and other conduct or items deemed inappropriate by the Director of Public Service. On the next page, changing D to E. Under Section E, number 6, C, beginning on line 275, we're adding, but 30 calendar days or more. Under G, line 293, we're moving Plaquemines Parish Government and adding the Director of Public Service. On the next page, we'll be changing D to F and F to G. And that's it for the changes.
Mr. Albright, the only thing I would ask to add would be on 134, just add to the next behind building, fees for the multi-purpose building located on the Belch's Government Complex, in case we have any other multi-purpose centers that are built throughout the parish, just for clarification. That's fine? Okay. All right, Mr. Russo?
That was my question. What, do you have a definition for multi-purpose building?
Yeah, it's just the building that's located.
Current pavilion, which is no longer a pavilion.
Okay, so, like Councilman Black says, we kind of need to put something there.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, does that not suffice? Okay.
Well, fees for the multi-purpose building.
Located on the Belch's Government Complex.
Well, is there a reason why we don't put the word pavilion in, or?
Yeah, I think it's enclosed now, just,
Right.
no, it's only classified as a pavilion.
No, I understand, but okay.
We feel
I just don't want someone, saying, well, what's a multi-purpose building? This is a multi-purpose building, We got plenty of buildings on here, but I understand what you're doing. Okay, no problem.
All right, Ms. Skodanovich?
Yeah, I'd like to know, like, if I rented the auditorium, could I cook, fry, and ball stuff outside?
Yeah, I think it's outside, Todd. What's the intent? It's just not inside, correct?
Correct. It's so we don't have things going on inside the building that's going to cause damage to the building. Outside the building wouldn't be an issue.
All right.
What is the purpose of having a stove in the building?
All right, Mr. LaFrance?
There's a kitchen area in some of the buildings. Cooking obviously will be allowed in the kitchen areas.
But
Not in the auditorium area or seating area of the buildings.
No, that's not what this legislation is saying. On 213, line 213.
We just add
Said, under no circumstances shall the following conducts or items be permitted in Plaquemines Parish in the building: cigarette smoking, illegal drugs, use, possession, fighting, bullying, cooking, boiling, frying. I mean, in our YMCA, it has a kitchen. Matter of fact, you have 2 stoves in it.
Mr. Albright, you want to make an amendment to that?
Yeah, the intent on this was due to like the Crawfish Cook-Off, who had used the building in the past. Even when it was started to partially be enclosed, they were still cooking under it. It was those intents, but can we just add a provision outside of designated cooking areas?
Unless proper ventilation and...
Yeah, you can just put, except, you just say, except in the kitchen facilities of the building. Huh?
What do you want to add? Do you want to add or you want to add it, Rudy?
Exactly what he just said.
Okay, you go with that? Okay. All right, Mr. Blink? That answers it? Okay. All right, any other questions or comments from the audience?
So y'all inserted that?
Yeah, she just inserted it, yeah. About the cooking. All right, what's done, Mr. Albro? Offer with changes. All right, machine, I second it, I'm sorry. Machine is open.
One second.
I'm sorry, Mr. Blank.
So, what would be the new fee schedule, say, like, for an event like the Orange Festival that will be happening at the fort? I mean, what would that cost more than, what would that be like now?
I think the fort doesn't change, it's actually the same
Okay.
as it was before. But we just added the word Fort Jackson Festival Grounds.
Got it.
That way people don't confuse that it's actually the fort.
I see.
I think once the fort gets back operational, you'd have to add that back in.
They still using it for the Orange
Yeah, right. Right. Yeah. Right. All right, machine is open. All right, it passes 7 yeas with 1 no from District 7. All right, item 6 is deferred. Item B, please.
An ordinance prohibiting anyone who does not rent a slip in a parish boat harbor from utilizing slips in the Empire Boat Harbor during tropical storms and hurricanes, authorizing and directing the parish president or his designee to have the harbor masters from Venice, Beers, and Empire ensure only renters are in the harbor tied up to the parish docks and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Kognovich. Offered. Mr. Blink seconds.
I had a bunch of complaints after that, Barry, from people that rented in Buras and Venice. They went up there to tie up, and all the slips was already taken by boats that don't rent from us. I'm not stopping anybody from going inside the lock system. If they don't rent from us, they can't tie up at our dock.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments from the table? From the audience? All right, with none, the machine is open. Passes 8-0. Item C is deferred. Item D.
An ordinance to amend the 2019 General Fund Main Parish Structure Flood Control Department and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Dr. Gouy.
I'll offer and ask for a second.
Who will offer any seconds? Mr. Albro. All right, Dr. Gouy.
Yes, this is a request from the administration to fund a secretary position in Flood Control Department. And it's my understanding that the reorganization that we're going to discuss later, that this is part of it. Am I correct? Anyone? Yes, thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments, Mr. Kognovich?
I'd like to see a worker hired instead of a secretary. Somebody who get out there and do some work instead of a secretary, huh?
Well, neither one of the departments have.
Use the mic,
Combine
Mr.
them, neither one of the departments has a secretary to do payroll or memos or anything, so that's what we're trying to do.
Who do we use now for it?
We're using an individual that works in the department to help out, but she don't know everything. Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Russo. Councilman Russo.
Well, whoever you hire, you're going to have to train anyway, right?
Yes, sir.
So you can't train the one you got? No, my only concern is this. We just had a hiring freeze last year, and since we've been in office this year, we've been adding people back to the payroll, and, you know, it's going to get tight, so I'm looking forward to the reorganization plan to see where we're going to streamline the positions, if any. You know, just a situation that, you know, we've gotten away from the hiring freeze, but I've had comments to me, well, you know, it can't be that bad. You're still hiring a lot of people. And when y'all come and prepare the budget.
It's not a completely new position. It's a position that was vacated by Paige, who was acting as the secretary for those departments. She wasn't classified as a secretary. She was classified as a helper with heavy equipment. So that it's not a completely, we're taking that money from the helper position and moving it to the secretary position in order to get somebody in there to do clerical work.
And I can understand the need. I'm just pointing out that when y'all present the budget, good luck. Thank you.
I doubt it'll be filled by the time we have budget hearings, so I guess we'll make a determination then. Mr. Blank?
You giving Tommy a raise?
That was your suggestion, I think.
No, my suggestion was.
Yeah.
Mr. Blank?
So the other day, we had to deny the Civil Service Department an additional position, you know, due to funding, and it's pretty tough to support this. We're doing everything we can to get the budget somewhat stabilized in.
Tell me about the money again. We're unfunding a position. to make this happen?
It's a position that's funded. We're just going from a helper to a secretary. It's going to add just a little bit more on the back end.
So we're not adding $24,000?
No, it's like 2,000 or 3,000, that's it, per year.
So,
Now, my only point is that, we operated for the last 2 or 3 years by shrinking the department by attrition and shoving off responsibilities to other people. And I guess we're to the point to where we can't shove that off anymore, or I don't know, but I can tell you that when the budget hearing comes, all of these positions are going to be looked at unless you found some money.
Looking at Rennie.
Thank you. I'm going to support the position, but here it comes. Budget hearing's coming.
Mr. Kardovic?
Yeah, I just want to say about Mr. Blinks, where we denied one, she didn't have it in the budget for next year. This one's in the budget already?
Yes, sir.
For this year.
Yeah.
Mr. LaFrance?
I'm good.
Mr. Newberry?
What's the grade?
41.
Y'all know by any chance?
I don't know
have the
offhand.
grade on.
Okay, I'm learning.
I can get back with you.
I'm learning the civil service grade pay, and it's a 10. Is it a 10 is necessary for this position, or can we go any lower than a 10? If it's just simple
Secretary
filing.
position is a 10. That's the grade.
That's the grade for that position. And what was the grade before, since you're moving from one?
The helper's like a 7, yes.
So what's the difference in a 7 and a 10? Can anybody answer?
Well, the minimum salary on a 7 is 20,000. And the minimum salary on a 10 is 24.
What's the difference in job description?
That I can't answer.
I mean, if we have to add a couple of thousand, can we just decrease a couple of thousand? I mean, I'm just suggesting.
Thank you, honey.
Helper's pretty much like a person that just works on a daily basis out in the field. All right, and secretary's more or less at the desk, doing the paperwork, doing payroll, doing requisitions, passing everything on, getting all the information together from the department and passing it through.
So that's pretty much bottom line for a secretary.
Yes.
Just wanted to clear that up. Thank you.
Mr. LaFrance?
Have we ever heard of the word multitasking? Huh? I never hear anyone say that. I was just wondering why this position was budgeted if they wasn't planning on filling it.
Well, the helper had just left because she went back to school, which was Paige in that position, and she was multitasking, but we have the departments combined together now, so we need somebody in there that can fulfill that job.
And who's doing that right now, presently?
Probably, nobody. They just scratching back and forth.
So the people's not getting paid?
Paige's position was, yeah, they're getting paid, but I mean.
Mr. Blink?
Sure, we might want to save this for, the drainage discussion later on, but we all received, a document that has some of the drainage capacities, and it's just, does it make more sense to put that money into the equipment at this point in time? For instance, the Ollie pump station, I have neighborhoods over there that are flooding when it rains for 20 minutes. It's at 74% capacity. There's the Gennard Woods pumping station, which is in Home Place, is at 82% capacity. The Bellevue pumping station is at 50% capacity. The Scarsdale pumping station is at 50% capacity. Does it make more sense to invest in the equipment at this point in time? And I understand y'all want things to flow smoothly in the office, and that has a direct result in that equipment getting back online quicker. But if we can't bail ourselves out from the inside out, we can't keep it dry. I mean, it's got to be the number one priority here. Civilization can't exist here without those pumps functioning correctly. I mean, do we want to make that choice right now to put it towards personnel or equipment? I yield.
Yeah, we really needed, all other departments have secretaries that does the work for their departments, and this one doesn't have it. It's been out for a while now.
Is Nikki handling it now?
We have a pump station operator doing that job right now.
Got it.
So if we continue to let her do the paperwork and we have rain events, we're just going to have overtime.
Got it. Thank you.
I don't have a mic back here. Oh, okay.
Mr. French, you had something?
No.
Okay, sorry. All right, Dr. Gouy?
I'm ready to move.
All right, any other questions or comments from the table? From the audience? Machine is open. Passes 8-0. Item E.
An ordinance to amend the 2019 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget Drainage Stock Shop Department and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Gouy?
I'll offer.
Ask for a second. Mr. Arbor, seconds.
I will defer to the administration to give us the update on this.
Gentlemen?
Well, right now, it's for fuel for drainage department, which they're out of the fuel capacity of the money. Beans all of the raining during the summertime, and they just used up all their fuel budget. And we haven't got no money back from Barry, which is a PW, which was only a couple weeks, but I mean, it still all boils down to it. They need some more money to last to the end of the year. And our pump stations are pretty much topped off, but if we get more fronts or more rain to pump, we'll be in a bind if we don't. And I told them, you know, we're going to use it for emergency basis. If we don't use it, it can roll back in. But if it does come and we don't have fuel to put in the pumps, we'll be in a bind. So.
Got my vote.
All right, any other questions or comments from the table? From the audience? All right, with none. Mr. Gouy, machine's open. Passes 8-0. F is withdrawn, G is withdrawn, H is withdrawn, I is deferred. J, please.
An ordinance to establish the distribution of department offices and agencies of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Dr. Gouy. Well, Mr. Arbor, seconds. Yeah, we're on J.
We're on J. 9J.
Any questions or comments from the audience? Mr. Russo?
From this distribution of departments and all, are there any economies of scale that we might be able to experience during the budget hearing? I ask that since we're reorganizing the departments and redistributing assignments and so forth, consolidating, I guess this is part of administration's consolidation and reorganization plan. Have y'all been able to determine if there are any savings from this reorganization, or are there increased costs? I guess it could be the other question.
Yeah, we are looking at the merger that we've been talking about that we definitely need is the drainage and flood control. So that will be merged into one department. We're trying to find savings there. That's the primary one. If you look at most of the other ones, there's not much, signs is now moved into engineering. I think there's been a couple other consolidations, but if you look at the existing departments, there's not really too many other ones that really could mesh like that.
So, in the budget preparation, will the budget reflect these changes?
Yes, the new, correct, yes. The new budget tables will reflect this. And this has also got more to do with who employees are reporting to. I know with some of the recent changes in directorships and the new administration coming on board, a couple employees express concern, who am I going to be reporting to? And so this also is also one of our primary attempts is to let everyone know, even the council, who reports to who, who's responsible to who. And that's really one of the primary purposes of this ordinance as well.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Newberry.
Wait,
right,
Judy,
Dr. Gould.
not to butt in,
I
but,
think you want to move your second.
yeah, I've just been handed some minor changes, so what
Move the second, Dr. Gouy.
I'll reintroduce, you've just been handed those minor changes, and they're in yellow, and I'll ask for a second, and we can continue.
Yeah, I don't need to read them, just go ahead, it's grammatical. Mr. Albro, seconds. Ms. Newberry.
I had a question. Under Director of Operations, line 43, safety, can you broaden that for me? Exactly what does that mean?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Safety, am I on?
Safety officer, she wants clarification on what that means.
Safety on line 43, under Director of Operations, y'all put safety.
We have a safety officer, and that person reports to the director of operations. They try to make sure we're complying with OSHA and other regulations, and also when there's accidents out in the field, that's the individual who goes out and files the reports, and so we can make insurance claims. And
Who is that?
Dan Johnson.
Stanley Johnson.
I know that.
The name was.
All right, any other questions or comments from the table? All right, Dr. Go, your wishes?
Yep, let's go.
All right, any from the audience? All right, with none, machine is open. Passes 8-0. Item K, please.
An ordinance to amend the five-year capital improvements plan levy lift WBV-12 project drainage Good News project and the repairs Fort St. Leon project and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Russo,
Yes, I've offered with the changes that are being distributed at this time.
offer with changes.
Yeah, they just adjusted the numbers.
Yeah, it goes from 451.45 to 226.45. I'll second changes. Mr. Blank, you have a comment?
Yes, sir. Just for clarification for the public, where is the levy lift WBV-12 project located?
It's the levee lift on Walker Road that's been completed. We had moved funds there because what was happening, the Corps of Engineers wanted to armor the project, and it had sunk. And so rather than have the armor all ripped off because it became a parish responsibility, once the feds turned it over to us, we went ahead and did the lift to get it back up and then let the Corps go back in and armor it, so we didn't have to tear it up. And so this is funding that was left from that project that goes to the drainage project, and we're waiting on Rennie to tell us if we can do it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Councilmember.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments from the table? From the audience? Our machine is open on K. Passes 8-0. Item L, please.
An ordinance to amend the five-year capital improvements plan for the LRA Port Salt Library project and the 2019 general fund revenue budget and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
LaFrance.
So offered.
Ask for a second.
Second.
Second from Ms. Kidovich.
Yes, this is the money that we receive from the surety bond company. And it said it was going to be enough with the money that's left that they didn't, the contractor had used. So this is the money that was given to us by the insurer.
All right, any other questions, comments from the table? From the audience? Our machine is open. Passes 8-0. All right, item 10A3 is withdrawn. I will resort back to item 8. Ms. Marcotte, a resolution officially renaming the pavilion located at Belchase Government Complex at 333 F. Edward Hebert Boulevard to the Ray Saez Multi-Purpose Center. That's the intro. All right, we'll move back to item C. 10C.
District 9 update, Councilmember Koknovich, discussion regarding water meter and bills.
Mr. Kokrovich?
I talked to Todd about it already, and he got me the information. One thing that came up yesterday, but the property where the sign is at the end of the road, at Tidewater Road, do we own the property, or? Because I have somebody wanting to donate a sign to put there. Thank you.
Thank you. You good?
I'm good.
All
Thank
right,
you.
item D, please.
District 7 update, Councilmember LaFrance.
Deferred. Item E, please.
District 5 update, Councilmember Roussel, status update on the property on the corner of L Street and Highway 23.
Mr. Russo?
Yes, the situation had gotten worse over the last 2 weeks. If you've noticed, it is in deplorable condition. Yesterday, they started filling the dumpsters up with the trash that they had on the ground. So I'm going to leave this on the agenda if it takes that to get him to pick up the trash every week. But the point is that we need to get some legislation, I think, that you're working on, and the sooner the better, and we'll have to move on something. But it is definitely, to quote one of my colleagues, an eyesore.
Yes, sir, it absolutely is. Code enforcement is moving toward an abatement hearing. We're going to bring the tenant to an abatement hearing, and the abatement hearing will outline they'll have X number of days to get everything cleaned up, but there'll be consequences afterwards.
Well, I hope you all agree that it is an eyesore.
We do agree.
Thank you.
All right, item F.
District 8 update, Councilmember Blink, pump station update.
Mr. Blank?
Sure. Just to poll y'all right fast. Do y'all want to go into this right now, or do y'all want to save this for later?
Later.
Hold off, Julia. I'll defer it. It's a serious discussion that we really need to tackle. There's some deficiencies in our pumping capacity.
I just got the paperwork yesterday. That's why I say that, because I haven't even reviewed it yet.
Got it.
Yeah. No, Mr. Russo's making the whirlwind tour for it, right? I looked at the other one. The director Russo. That's all, Mr. Blunt? All right, item 11.
Approval of the minutes from the September 26, 2019 meeting.
Mr. LaFrance offers. Second by Mr. Blink. Any questions or comments? Machine is open. I'm a verbal yes, because it's not coming up yet. It passes 7-0, verbal yes. I got a verbal. I wasn't on the thing. Something happened to the machine. You have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Albrecht has a motion to adjourn. Second by Mr. LaFrance. Oh, shoot, hold on. All right. Not too soon. All right, I remove that, and we go back to 2A and B, please.
2A, Keith Babin, Kevin Burge, Joshua Demukes, and Barbara Tate versus the Plaquemines Parish Civil Action Number 2-18-CV-07378-WBV-DMD, U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Louisiana, Attorney Rennie Burris, Councilmember Black. B, discussion regarding potential litigation, Highway 39 LP, LRS 42:17A2, Attorney Rennie Burris, Councilmember Black.
I'll offer X for a second. Mr. Albrecht seconds. Any questions or comments on executive session? Our machine is open on executive session. It passes 7-0. All right, we'll adjourn. We'll recess for executive session at 5:10. All right, we're back from executive session at 5:30. Mr. Albrecht has a motion to adjourn. Seconded by Mr. Koknovich.
So we can make it for Thursday night football.
We'll do a verbal. All in favor?
Yeah.
All right, we passes 5-0. We are adjourned at 5:30.
Yeah.
How about that?